Today is Wednesday, September 11th, 2024, and this is a Hendrick Hudson Board of Education meeting. I'd like to start by calling the meeting to order. Does anyone like to make a motion to start the meeting?
Motion.
Second. All in favor? The Board of Education will, Hendrick Hudson School District Board of Education will convene an executive session for the purpose of collective negotiations under the Taylor Law, medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person or corporation, or matters leading to the appointment or employment history of a particular person or corporation, or matters leading to the appointment or employment or promotion or demotion or discipline or suspension or removal of a particular person or corporation. Do I have a motion to open exec?
Motion.
Second. All in favor? The Board of Education will reconvene for the regularly scheduled meeting at 7 p.m. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Hendrick Hudson Board of Education meeting. I'd like to start on September 11th, 2024. I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On the anniversary of September 11th, we would like to begin our meeting with a moment of silence. Mr. Trauma, do you want to take a few words to share about why we take this time to reflect?
Yes, thank you, President Mills. We took time tonight to pause and honor the memories of those who lost their lives in the terrorist attacks, those who sacrificed their lives trying to recover the victims of the terrorist attacks, and those who lost their lives or sacrificed themselves to try to bring to justice those who brought the terrorist attacks to our shores. I echo my message sent to the community this morning. Those of us who lived through that day have a duty to not let that day be forgotten. We cannot let that day fade to the march of time. And one way that we do that is we remind our students of the historical significance and the personal significance that it may hold. Today, our students and staff recognize this solemn day with moments of silence, days of service, or reflection. I had the opportunity to visit Frank G. Lindsay this morning as Mr. Mackin led a very poignant flag-raising ceremony and had some of our first responders. Some of our other cabinet members attended our Furnace Woods Day of service. And this evening, we paused to reflect, to honor, and to remember. And I appreciate the board allowing for a moment of silence before we begin our work in remembrance of that moment. So thank you.
We will start with the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve our agenda as stated? Motion. Second. Anyone? Second. All in favor? Carmen, do we have any comments on non-agenda items? Does anyone have any, before we approve the consent agenda, does anyone have anything to pull from the consent agenda tonight?
I have something to pull. I'd like to make a motion to pull subject to 5.4 fiscal.
Second. All in favor? We have no donations tonight, right? Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda without fiscal 5.4? All in favor? Mr. Trombley, would you like to talk about why we asked for fiscal 5.4?
I would. We are joined this evening by our new, or we are recommending to be our new school district treasurer, Mr. Stephen Montefronte. He and his wife, Debbie, have joined us this evening. We thank you for both being here. We thank you for choosing Hendrick Hudson, and we look forward to bringing you on board. For those of you who may not know it in very simple terms, the treasurer is one who helps sign our paychecks, but also keeps us in compliance with a myriad of fiscal regulations, make sure that our finances are on track and serves as an integral part of not only our business office, but also our school system. So welcome, Mr. Montefronte.
So with that said, can I have a motion to approve fiscal 5.4?
Motion to approve fiscal 5.4.
Second.
Congratulations.
Thank you for being here.
So Stephen, we have a fun-filled agenda tonight that you are more than welcome to stay. But we do know that you are going to be beginning work with us next week, and we want you rested and rejuvenated and ready to go. So you were happy to stay or take your leave.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
you.
Thank you.
That moves us to audience comments on agenda items. Are there any audience comments on agenda items? That brings us to our superintendent's update. Mr. Chombley?
Thank you. I have just a very brief update for you this evening. I want to begin, Greg, if you pull up our presentation. The majority of my update will center around a presentation reflecting upon our opening of schools. And as we begin to pull that up. So as the presentation is being pulled up, I want to just talk about the reopening of our school system. And I use that word intentionally. Excuse me while I go into my social scientist mode here. I enjoy teaching economics. An accepted definition of the word system is an organization forming a network, especially for distributing something or for serving a common purpose. I think if you look at a school system, we all know our purpose, which is to live out our mission, which Greg has here, ensuring that each student is engaged, is a passionate learner, who achieves their maximum potential and contributes to society. That is why we exist. That is our agreed upon statement. And that is why the system in every aspect of our school system exists. There are many inputs that go into a system. And just think about the many inputs that go into a school system. Contracts, which guide how we behave in certain issues. Transportation, state mandates, legal parameters, people's ability on a given day to do their job because they are humans and sometimes we have good days and bad days. Food service, instruction, interactions with outside agencies such as town, supply deliveries, or natural occurrences such as bee infestations if those ever occur. All these inputs can affect the output of a system from achieving its intended goal. So when one of these inputs change or when time is not spent ensuring upon our system is functioning properly, that takes us away from being able to live out our mission. And we're talking about the reopening of our school system. And as in any system, a very minor change has larger impacts. Just yesterday, Con Ed closed a few streets without letting our transportation department know. And we all know one of the struggles at the beginning of a school year can be new bus routes, making sure those buses run on time. And I have every confidence that our transportation department will work through some of the kinks. And we know we do not want our students on buses longer than they have to be because we want them being home. And if they're of a certain age doing homework, but of other ages, enjoying the free time and time spent with family, being kids. But think about a minor change to one of our inputs that was out of our control and the amount of work that needed to be done to address that. So what we see on the outside is that a bus is late. But what most people don't see is the work put in to try to rectify that situation and how that has an impact on everything else. So we're not making excuses here. We're trying to talk about the fact that we are a very interconnected system. And I would ask that everybody keeps in mind that as some of those input changes, that has effects that you may not be aware of. As a board, it's worth reflecting on how these moving parts, often invisible to the public, require coordination, support, communication. And an essential question that I always reflect upon at this time of year is how can we as leaders continue to provide oversight and resources necessary to keep complex systems such as a school system running smoothly throughout the year? Because we all know reopenings coming. Anybody who's been in education knows that reopenings are one of the most difficult times of the year. Whether it's your own classroom, if you were moved in the classroom, maybe that your stuff was not put back exactly the way you want it to be, or maybe you tripped over a cord and pulled out your smartphone. All of these things, we all want to provide the best environment for our students. So with that being said, I'd like to reflect upon our opening. So the objectives of this presentation are to provide the board with an overview of the reopening of schools, particularly what we feel went well based upon data and inputs, and what can be improved, because this administration and our school district models for our students a cycle of continuous improvement. Even if we did everything well from our own metrics and our goals, we want to continue to do better. Greg, we can go to the next slide. I'm going to, for those of you who paid attention and waited on bated breath for this presentation, if you notice, the last presentation of the academic year in June talked about looking towards 24-25. Well, we're here. And I started with this slide. I want to revisit it and give thanks to our whole team who assisted over the past few days. And I shouldn't say a few days, who assisted since last June, because as soon as the last student leaves, we are thinking about when they get to come back. I'm very proud of us as a community as well. I know that our children are the most precious item we have in our lives, and we want them to have the best experience possible. And school opening, as complex and anxiety-provoking as it is, of the small inquiries that I have fielded, every parent has been, every person has been polite, respectful, and patient. And it's tough to do that at this time of year. So I would just want to say, as a community, I'm very proud of the way we have approached this reopening of our system. And if we go to the next slide, we have to first take a moment to thank some of those people behind and in front of the scenes who have helped make the opening happen. So those groups that you see before there, we're going to take a moment to recognize them. We had thought about bringing everybody, inviting everybody here to be recognized in front of you. But then I was advised by many members in this room, don't be an idiot. People don't want to have to show up at this time for a board meeting. And that would not be recognizing them in a positive way. It'd be making them do something they may want to do. So we thought we could do the next best thing and share some of their smiling faces with our community in a small token of our appreciation. So I'll turn it over to Greg. So hopefully you recognize some of our wonderful staff and their smiling faces. What struck me the most is many of the groups of staff members who are recognized in that video are often at the limit of their efforts and strength, because they've worked the whole summer to welcome back students. But if you notice, still on their faces, they still have their smile. So that's a testament to their commitment to the district. I want to thank Josh Thompson for putting that together, and Carmen for her inspiration in taking that approach to recognize our very, very important teammates. When we talk about the reopening, we asked our leaders to reflect upon the opening. So these were building administrators, district level administrators, to share their thoughts with us. And we asked them a couple specific categories of question. We asked them to respond in free form to us. What went well, and what systems and structures were in place that facilitated that? What could be improved based upon this year's reopening of schools?
and what systems and structures need to be considered for improvement there. We also asked them, and these are different questions. What are you proud of? And what still needs to be addressed throughout the school year? So in general terms, the next slide shows what our leaders felt went well. I will say this. We had overwhelming responses that our staff did a fantastic job welcoming back students across the board, whether you're a custodian, a grounds crew, teacher, a monitor, food service, nurse, technology staff. They all pulled together to make sure that this opening was the best it could be for the students, because they are the reason why we're here. Facilities, and Mr. Merlini, our director of facilities, is here. Facilities, given the not only the normal reopening of school process, where we pull out all the furniture, we clean the rooms, we wax the floors, we get the rooms ready to receive kids, we put the rooms back together, our technology comes in after that. They also had a very large move from our elementary schools, requiring extreme coordination through a number of different parties. They still had our facilities ready to go. There's always going to be things reopening when we reopen schools that need to be addressed, but our facilities were recognized over and over by our leaders and by other people who shared anecdotal data with me. So I can't thank them enough.
And carpets, every carpet maybe is replaced except for the library, correct? We got that done over the summer as well.
We also have, we have new materials for our elementary reading program that had to be unboxed and set up in classrooms as well. We have wonderful family volunteers who helped with the reopening, and over again, we heard that there is cohesion among the various entities within the district, which as leaders, that makes us proud, because that means that people are not only doing their job, but they feel supported and having a direction of where they need to go. So that's that was very good to hear. However, we also need to know that we can always do better. So in general terms, these are the areas on the next slide that we thought we could do, we can improve. So always we can improve transportation. Remember, we have new drivers with new routes, you have new routes with new drivers, and those routes have to be learned. If you think about yourself, even driving a new way to work or to your vacation home, the first time you do it, you may not go the most efficient route, or you may be, we're always cautious when we're transporting our students, but you may be extra cautious because you want to make sure that you're going the extra mile and be safe. We always want to continue to improve our coordination. We have wonderful partner groups that we work with in our community, but that takes a lot of coordination. This year with the implementation of UPK, we have 2 schools with a new partner that they are getting used to the new configuration. They're getting used to a new program. We're supporting them. Questions such as, can they use the copier? Questions such as, what do we do if there is a student in crisis within that program? All these things need to be worked out and coordinated, and it takes communication, it takes follow-up, and it takes adherence to policies and procedures. We're constantly looking to maintain the buildings as they age and the quality of that environment. What I'd ask you to think about is while the district never sleeps, per se, over the summer months, there are some rooms that do not get used. Think about if you own a vacation home or a second home, and let's say the last meal you cooked in that home was garlic and oil. What is that room, if you left it dormant for a month or 2, going to smell like if you didn't run climate control, if nobody was living in there? It's probably going to need some love and care before you open it back up and get things going back to normal. So we know that. And oftentimes when we welcome back staff, they're going to be the first one in those rooms to say, hey, we need to take a look at this room and make sure that we can address some items that are in there. We also have many new faces in our staff, and it always takes constant learning on their behalf to know the systems and communicate their desires within that system. So that's something that can always be improved. Next slide is, what are we proud of? And you'll see similar, but very specifics. And again, we have Anthony here, and he and his team did a fantastic job over this summer and responding to some of those concerns as they arose throughout as we reopened. These were specific items taken from the feedback that we received. I'll highlight that next one. The welcome back events and assemblies that were held for students and staff, many of which our board members attended, some of our board trustees attended. Those received a lot of good feedback as well. When we go to the next slide, what still needs to be addressed? Some good things have impacts and externalities that need to be addressed. So for instance, we have all of our students in K through 8 receiving free meals. That has an impact on our system. That is an input that has changed. More students are now accessing those meals. What does that mean for schedule? What does that mean for timing? What does that mean for the food service staff? We have new instructional programs, particularly at the elementary, that we need to monitor. We continue to utilize continue to need to look at, are we using our space in an effective manner? Think about if you've ever moved into a new space. Is that new space day one the same? Does it look the same day 30 or day 185 as it did when you first moved in? Or are you looking to see better ways that you can utilize it? Do you like the way this curtain looks here? Should the futon go there? Should the pizza boxes, if you're in college, go on this side of the room to act as the table or not? Or should it go on that side of the room? And again, Mr. Merlini has already shared with me some ideas he has to make sure that rooms that may be dormant during the summer are ready to go for staff when they come back into place. And he's looking at some mitigation efforts there. And if we go to the next slide, I know some of you are probably saying, well, that's great. You asked the leaders, the people who might be getting some of the concerns, but we didn't just ask our leaders. About a week before school, we reached out to all of our staff. We provided them with a format. As they come back into the rooms, you don't want to do it too soon, because if they come in on July 15th, their room is going to look much different. Their working environment is going to look much different. So we try to find that sweet spot of, we know we are coming back in, we know our facility staff, our technology staff, we're getting our systems back in place and up and running. About a week out, we provided them a forum to share their concerns. We didn't just ask them for their concerns, we asked them what would they see as a desirable outcome. And I have to be honest, I thought, given some of the inputs that were changing this year, whether it be the move, whether it be you have a brand new superintendent who's biting his fingernails the whole month of July and August, I thought we were going to be inundated with concerns. We had 17 concerns. 7 of those came from elementaries, 10 of those came from the secondary. I'm sorry, I had that backwards. That's why sometimes you have a slide. We also wanted to make sure that we identified that some of those concerns came from the same person, which you can have a room with a couple of things that you want to address, or you can have a working environment. So I tend to not, as much as my son, my 5-year-old son doesn't understand this. I don't live in I think I feel. I live by what does the data show me? And data, as we know, can tell a story depending on how you look at it. But when someone says, I think I feel, that needs to be validated, but we also, to continue to improve the system, you need to take a look at some of the hard data so that we can really explore it. So, and the staff has been working to address those concerns and continues to do that. If we go to the next slide. If you listen to some of my bad jokes, one of my lines that hopefully you'll hear over and over again for a number of years, when it's June, I say it's almost September. And people either roll their eyes at me or tell me to shut up or something else that's not G-rated. And when it's September, I'm saying it's almost June. And I say that as a joke, but also as a nod to the fact that in our job as educators, we are continuously looking towards what is next. So with a nod to that, we're already looking at our budget development process that will begin in October. We're beginning to have those discussions about an initial timeline and what we'll be doing there. We know a consideration is the high school, middle school schedules as a component of that budget, and programming is the best thing we have provided for our students. And that's already occurring. So we're already, even though it's what day is it, 7th day of school? We're already starting to look towards next year. That's why I put in their planning for 25-26. So at this point in time, I'd like to recognize Mr. Merlini for being here. Thank you for taking time out of this evening and for supporting your staff and supporting the reopening of schools. But at this time, I will turn it over to Greg. If we go to the next slide, any questions that you may have on the topics that we presented. Again, a thank you to our administrators, faculty, and staff for their reopening efforts. And again, thank you to Josh Thompson for that video recognizing a small token of our recognition and appreciation. I'll yield now to any questions, comments, concerns, discussion.
Should we go around slowly so we don't have to?
Well, I could continue on with my update. If you feel that presentation served the purpose, I'd be happy to continue on with my update. Okay, great, thank you. Great. And thank you to the Board of Education for your support and guidance as well too. It is truly a system that needs everybody who's invested into it. In an effort to continue our tradition, a strategic plan action item is to celebrate good things when they occur. And to be more intentional about celebrating those milestones, I'd like to take a moment to recognize Trustee Bodine, who recently celebrated a birthday.
29 all over again.
Yes, and we hope it was a day filled with family, fun, and joy. There are no questions from the last board meeting to follow up. I will tell my children to go to bed at this time. And we do have a new portion of our agenda, if you'll allow me to move forward, because it does tie in. We do have brief updates from our cabinet level staff, and I'll turn it over to our Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources and Leadership Development, Dr. Stephen Garcia.
Yeah, thank you. So there are a few events that starts the school year off. One is we welcome new faculty. We had 16 new faculty members join us on Monday and Tuesday, August 26th and 27th. Many individuals were important to us in welcoming them. Of course, Board President, Vice President, thank you for joining us. Mr. Trombley has some words, Dr. Ruller, Ms. Shookman, Ms. Joy, Christina Field, who is the mentor coordinator, one of our teachers, and also the HHEA leadership. So I think it was a nice way for me really to get integrated into the culture here, but I think it's just a good way to welcome our new faculty staff, set expectations, but also make them feel comfortable. So I think it was a pretty good event. Just some things I was working on over the summer. So we hired at least 7 teachers, 9 teaching assistants, a teacher aide, an occupational therapist, a nurse, 2 full-time monitors, and a secretary since July 1. So those were the staff faculty I was involved with. And I think we did a very nice job of, again, welcoming them. And I think, of course, our administrators, Dr. Riller and Ms. Shuckman, did a great job to search for those candidates and bring them forward to the board. As part of my entry plan, I wanted to get to know the system more in the community. So since July, I started, I think I've counted about 30 faculty, staff, administrators, community members that I've met with, one this afternoon, in fact. Just really to learn about the school system and to get a better understanding of some celebration, but also some challenges for the district. Today, I had the great pleasure to visit Furnace Woods and participate, or just at least watch the 9/11 ceremony, recognizing and acknowledging the first responders from this community. And the students really did a nice job of honoring them, but also the raising of the flag and then lowering the half staff. And Mr. Cohen, to thank him for really leading such an important event. And then it's very nice to be able to just kind of go around the corner and visit the middle school. And I was a former middle school principal, so I really enjoy that age. I know some people are middle schoolers are a unique blend, but it was really a great opportunity for me to explore the school a little bit and get to meet some more of this faculty, staff, and of course, just the students. So I hope to be doing more of that over the next coming weeks.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia. And thank you for kicking us off in our update. We'll also now turn it over to our Executive Director for Technology and Innovation, Ms. Vinitha Joy.
So I want to start by thanking my team, technology staff. I do have 5 tech staff, BOCES, EduTech, but they're handheld technology staff. They be around the clock doing more. Every single day, I feel bad asking them to stay over because they're exhausted. At the same time, we do have a new instructional technology facilitator, Nikki Stabell, who started. She is amazing. She's been in the buildings assisting just like the tech staff, but also working with teachers on, integrating some of that technology. She ran Microsoft Translator training, BenQ training, Smart training. So she's already hitting the ground running. My data team, we have more systems than we can possibly think about. Everything goes through centralized ClassLink, and Galit and her team is very involved in that. So we had a very easy start with the data side, but I would say this was a very tough beginning of the school year for technology. We usually finish our beginning of the school year, getting the classrooms ready with the 5 staff that I have on a normal year. This year, I could say any classroom we went to, we had about 5 tickets. Because it was either the smart board or it was either the computer account didn't work or things like that. Normally things that we wouldn't have, we had a lot of issues. I do want to thank Anthony and his staff actually over the past weekend. We had new classrooms at FGL, UPK panels came out of those classrooms, went into their last minute. Like we had almost 10 panels that went in. So him and his staff actually helped us get that going because I couldn't get a contractor in time because the school beginning to get those installed and working. So I do want to thank my staff. The other thing I wanted to update on was I didn't have a choice, but we had a lot of new initiative in the district going on. We had the new laptop model that I spoke about over the budget session. Our Furnace Woods and FGL staff just have a laptop, just like all the offices have them. They're getting used to that, have to teach around with one device because all of our teachers had 2 devices. They had a desktop and a laptop. So we're moving back to just one device, mobile device. So they're learning a lot about how you can use this panels as a standalone computer, right? Like they were always extending from their computer to the panel. So now they're learning how to use the technology that's in the classroom. We had new copiers. If you remember, we had a 5-year contract that ended. The copiers came in literally a week and a half before school started. That was a huge project. I didn't have a choice. I have a lot of people who said like, why didn't you do this in October? I didn't have a choice because the 5-year contract ended in June. We had to move it then. And it made me a very unpopular person in the district when I pulled 1-to-1 printers out of the classroom. But we have to work with the teachers. We have to work with them because before COVID, we were not a digital platform. We didn't have Google Workspace. We didn't have Schoology. We didn't have 1-to-1 for students and staff. When we came back from COVID, we were in a digital platform. Then when we came back, we went right back to where we started. So it is going to be hard moving forward. If you go into some of the buildings, I'm sure you will hear about the printers going away. But we're working through them, and we have Nikki Stabar in technology integration facilitator who's working with them. So we'll look at some of those reports, printer reports. Now we have cloud printing. So that means I have literally visual on how much is classrooms printing. So we can address that with the teachers to say, okay, what's going on? How can we share that through Google Classroom? So there's places that we do need paper, obviously. That's why we still have copiers. And we do have printers in centralized locations that they can print to. So it'll take a little bit of adjustment, but we'll get there. Also, I did wanted to bring up, we do have new 2 people at the high school, middle school. So that's also tough on technology staff because they're just learning what a school is like and what, school beginning is like. So I'm always convincing them every night, don't leave. It's gonna get better. You don't know that yet, but it's gonna get better. So they're hanging in there. We do have quite a few students that came in at the high school level. So a lot of Chromebooks, students lose their Chromebooks over the summer. So Chromebooks is always time consuming to figure out, did you really turn in a Chromebook or you're just, a lot of students break their Chromebooks over the summer. So he's getting the handle of that, but we're supporting him the way that, whatever way I can. So on that note, that's technology for you. If you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you, Vinita. And having sat in your chair as a technology director, I actually had to ask my wife. I was not as stressed as I was when I was a technology director. So the burden on you and your team is heavy because you're often the last people in the room before the teachers are there, and teachers are often really anxious to get up and running, and sometimes you bear the brunt of some anxiety. So thank you for leading your team through this. So
Thank you.
I'll turn it over to now our Executive Director of People Personnel Services, Ms. Lisa Shipman, for her update.
Question.
Hi, everyone. As you know, we've had a large grant given to us, so I have a slew of things, but I'll keep it less than 10 minutes because I'm really organized. First, I do have to thank Benita. We have, as you know, in our special classrooms, we have a lot of technology and a lot of devices. And her team has been on it since day one. We have had new staff come to my office who are fabulous and rerouting computers and installing smart boards and phone lines has been fabulous. Anthony, he just left, but Anthony has his guys between Scott and Ray. Stuff got moved that shouldn't have been moved and they're moving it and making sure it's back in the teachers' classrooms. I haven't had one teacher say, Lisa, I need. So that's huge when we just had this big move. So I'm really impressed with everything that happened. With this grant, we have kicked off this year. We'll be doing mental health first aid training for staff. Right now I have about 20 people signed up for the first training at the end of this month. It's a 3-day training. We will all be trained so we can turn around and turnkey our staff. From there, this group of 20 of us will then train all of the juniors and seniors that we reached out to last year, this year's junior and seniors. They were hand selected by their school counselors to be trainers and to be mentors for the 9, 10 and the 4, 5s. So or middle school, excuse me. So all of that will be happening in the first 2 months of school. That's a lot of time and a lot of effort, but it's really important with all of the social emotional needs going on right now. What I think we had another incident yesterday in a school. So we just have to be on top of this. So this training is going to be happening. Sandy Hook Promise will be replacing anonymous alerts, I believe. November?
October, end of October.
End of October. Vinith and I have been working very closely with the building principals and the district office to set up teams. We have teams set up at Mike's level. We have teams set up at each building level. There's some intense training that happens with that. It's not fun after we just did all the other trainings, but that training happens. It will replace, we have 24 hours a day, 365 days a year of mental health support. They will reach right out to our teams that are established in the tree. So we've done a lot of work on that end. And we have every building has a minimum of 3 people that are their first responders if they do reach out. Lastly, we have the BEMIS, which is, I'm actually looking at some of the forms now. So we've reviewed them, we've gone through them. We're going to work with vocabulary for grades K-2. So that is our social emotional screener. We talked about that a lot last year. We discussed how this has saved kids' lives, but they red flag. So we'll be starting that, I believe, at the end of October, in grades K-12. In K-4 or 5, it is a parent survey and a teacher survey. In grades 6 through 12, it's a student survey and a parent survey. Everything is computerized. If people don't have computers, we will make sure we get them a hard copy, but everything is available online. So I'm working with everybody's calendars to say, what's in October that I can't test high school kids, and what's this and what's that. So I've been going around Margaret's schedule and the high school schedule as well, so we don't impact it. But it is a social emotional screener that really does the behavior and intense social emotional. What we are doing, or what I did today with a social worker and psychologist, was broke down some of the vocabulary. So we're all thinking about it K-2 the same way, and we'll share that with parents. Like, what does fidgeting mean as a kindergarten and a first grader versus a 5th grader? So we really have to have that same language, and we have to be able to speak that. So I will share that with families. I think I'm going to do a video. I'm hoping I can do something that I can insert and I'm not on the video, but walk people through it so they can see everything that they'll see on the screen. I can demo for them. I'll share it with the community. It'll be in Spanish, but it'll also be, I'll have the subtitles in Spanish, and I think I'm going to have one of my secretaries also translate it. This is available in multiple languages, not just Spanish and English, so anybody can take it. I think that's it.
Thank you, Lisa. As you can see, Lisa and her team have been really focused on supporting our students from a social emotional perspective, applying, qualifying, and implementing a competitive grant to help support that effort. and also working with a task force to identify a social emotional screener. So thank you, Lisa. I'll now turn it over to our Executive Director of Curriculum and Instruction, Dr. Reller.
Good evening, everyone. So I guess the big thing in curriculum right now is obviously onboarding the new ELA program K-5. And I'd like to personally thank the two coaches, Michelle Karwowski, who is our K-5 math coach, and Janine Rizzoli, who is our K-5 ELA coach. They both worked a ridiculous amount of time over the summer, getting assessments in place, preparing themselves to support teachers in both the math and ELA programs. And we hit the ground running a week ago. So they are both everywhere all at once, taking feedback and making sure people have what they need. The ELA program, the beginnings of it have gone very well. People have what they need. They're still, I think, in some places unpacking boxes and figuring out what they have. We do, we're at a point right now where we're just double checking to make sure all of the ancillary staff has what they need. So the special ed teachers that are teaching skills in a pullout, did we get them everything that they think they need? We have some questions about how the libraries can flex in each building to a lower level and a higher level. So Janine and I are taking notes and figuring out what the next steps are with this. We had a meeting yesterday with the grade level leaders to settle on some assessment decisions. So we think we're in a good place. Each grade level leader has a virtual coach that is available to them at any time. We kind of have an agreement that they will use that coach at their monthly meetings to gather the feedback from the grade level and then sit and poke somebody's ideas about what this looks like. I will say the interesting thing with Interreading is they have a very robust online presence. So there's a lot of Facebook groups that people get bits and pieces of information about the program. So I think we're in a good place with that, but like with anything new, there will be kinks along the way and we will respond to make sure people have what they need to be successful. Toward that same goal for parents, we are planning a literacy night. We're trying to work out whether we do this in 2 nights, a K2 and a 3-5, especially because the buildings are split. The last time we did this, we were K5. What I would like to have happen is what we did the last time, which was to have a short presentation for argument's sake in the cafeteria and then have people visit classrooms to see what will happen. So I asked the grade level leaders to go back and get some feedback from their teachers to see when we can schedule that. It will likely be towards the end of October. Title I night for parents who have children in AIS. We are rethinking that because we have been doing it as the precursor to the Welcome Back to School night. And we had a conversation yesterday, we'll talk more about it tomorrow, that we don't know all of the kids that will be in AIS at that point. We know the kids who moved forward from the prior year, but we don't know the kids who will be identified in the next benchmark. So we're toying with, do we do it again? Do we do one virtual and one in person? And we'll flesh that out in tomorrow's AIS meeting. Title III night is September 23rd. It is a district-wide evening, so we don't make those parents travel again multiple nights. That will be here at the high school. We've been doing that for years, and it's, you know, we have guests come in from the library to speak to our families. There will be a dinner. We usually do pizza that night. I'm wondering if they're working out babysitting, so we talked about that in the past with some of the high school kids who need volunteer hours. Where are we? UPK. So it's been a busy summer settling our UPK partners into their new locations, making sure they have what they need, working collaboratively with the site supervisor and the organizer at the Y. We still have a standing every other Monday phone call at 3 o'clock just to make sure everybody's on the same page. As Mike alluded to, we have opening questions. Can I use the copy machine? What happens if a kid is stressed? And so we've been working with the Y and also Josh Cohen and Cindy Kramer, who have the programs in their buildings to make sure everybody understands how we work interchangeably with one another. I think that's going well. And again, something new, there'll always be a kink. We'll work through it together. I think the lines of communication are open, and that's the most important thing. ENL numbers, we are staying on top of that. I had a conversation with Lauren Scollins today about some changes to the ENL schedule at the high school.
The thing with ENL services is it's not the number of children, it's the number of minutes each child requires based on their proficiency level. And it's two-folded. It's a pull out for language acquisition, a standalone, and it's a push in for content integration. So thankfully, you know, she's finalizing all of those little details to make sure that we are following the guidelines. I have a schedule in front of me that was shared by elementary staff, so I will be adding up their numbers. Not that I don't trust them, but just to make sure that everybody is getting the push in and the pull out minutes that are required based on their proficiency level and whether or not that has an impact on staffing. And by that, I mean moving people to where the service is required. So I think we're in good shape. I think I haven't forgotten anything that's here. One last thing I'll say is that this evening, a Parent Square email went home to folks to let them know that the ELA and math scores and the science scores only for grade 5, because those are the only kids that took the test, are in the backpacks. And if you have trouble with that accessing, Benita was kind enough to give me an email address for parents to use. Want to jump in?
Yes, we also loaded NYSESWAT and New York State Ultimate Assessment Parents.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Weller. As you can tell by Dr. Weller's update, we're already in the swing of things in terms of curriculum instruction. Before I turn it back over, because that does conclude the cabinet update, I want to thank the board for allowing us to have this time to share all of the great work that the cabinet members are leading. And underneath their work is the work of countless other staff members. So they're sharing with you the good things that all of our staff are doing. And I can say this because last year at this time, I was watching your board meetings. And it is a pleasure to be able to talk about these topics at the board meeting and share some of the good work that's going on in the district. So thank you for that. I'll turn it back over to President Mills.
Thank you, everyone. That was great and very informative to not only to us, but to the community at home watching. So thank you so much. Our next, we have no presentation and discussion. So we move on to policy reading. Everyone ready?
Yes.
Hey, Rick, okay. Just as a reminder, we meet as a policy committee with Mr. Trombley recently and Carmen and go through each of these and discuss them at length before we get to this point where there are this many in front of you. So just, you know, it's a lot, but this is work that really just needed to be done. So thank you for your time with this, everyone. Okay, we are moving to the second reading of policy 1420, complaints about curricula or instructional materials. The Board of Education recognizes to waive the reading.
Are we gonna discuss?
This is when you can bring back, because we had held this from the last meeting for discussion. Second. All in favor?
We're waiving it.
We're waiving the reading.
Okay.
So now we can discuss as a group.
Why do most parents fill out this form? Do we know, Margaret? What's the purpose behind it?
The only thing, in all the time I've been here that I have ever dealt with was an issue with a book that was selected in one of the high school ELA programs, and it was a religious concern. And so that we worked with the teacher to offer a substitute that would parallel the theme of the book. Other than that, I can't say that I've ever had a question.
So in my years of teaching, the only time I've ever had a complaint was a religious concern. Why in the form do we not have any questions about? I mean, if I look at your form,
14, so we're looking at 1420E.
which is what the parent would fill out. Why is there no reference to a parent having an issue based on religion? Like, I would just like something added that says, does the material conflict with you or your community's cultural, religious, or ideological values? and specify which values or beliefs are in conflict with.
So would that be covered under question number
Two.
two?
To what do you specifically object? Please cite specific passages, pages, etc.
So you're asking me to go into the book. And so basically you're asking me to read the entire book and tell you what passages I object to.
Well,
If you're gonna complain about the book, you need to know.
Well, yeah, I'm guessing you know what you're complaining about.
Yeah, what the content is that you're complaining about.
Okay.
I also think it can be inferred in a lot of the other questions too. It's not blatantly asking that, for sure.
and number 3 is also, under number 3, is your objection to this material based upon your personal exposure to it, upon reports you have heard, or both?
Well, I have personal exposure to it because I just read it.
Right, that's what that means.
Or if you heard someone talking about it and then you say, whatever they're talking about is against my religion. Like,
I saw it on.
think
social
it's-
media.
covered, I don't know if we necessarily need to specify that because we don't specify any reason.
Okay.
I think I was gonna just add, I think Mr. Trombley has actually dealt with this, previously, so he can speak to it probably better than anyone else at the table.
Sure, let me put this form into context of its purpose. This form is the initial outline for a concern of a parent with any material. Additional evidence is entertained. And this form facilitates that conversation. So this form would be used once an informal conversation has been held with the building principal and other members of the instructional staff. And this form is delivered to the superintendent, who, I can tell you this, I would want to know more details and beyond this. It would be a conversation with the individual who's expressing the concern. It wouldn't just be a review of the form and.
Yes or no.
Correct. In its context of the overall process, this helps to carry on to the next level, a standard approach to reviewing the material, because some of the committee questions, if the superintendent convenes the committee, would be to study the material in the context of the educative process. And these questions help the individual filing concern tease that out.
Question for you.
Yes.
To clarify, if let's say I don't have a specific page or place of reference and I fill out the form, if I don't give a specific, would you still meet with the person to have the conversation?
Of course.
Okay, so is there anything you want to recommend changing within code 1420?
No.
You have to make a motion.
Me?
It can't be me because I read.
Motion to approve policy number 1420, complaints about curricula or instructional materials.
Second.
All in favor?
We may have to reverse what we're doing, but we'll talk about that another day. Second reading, this is a 1420E. Complaints about curricula or instructional materials exhibit. Request for reevaluation of instructional materials.
Motion to waive the reading.
Second. All in favor?
Okay. So we just discussed this based on that it was related to the other. So make a motion.
Motion to accept policy number 1420E, complaints about curricular or instructional materials exhibit.
Second.
All in favor? And this is a second reading. Revision, complaints about curricular instructional materials regulation 1420R. So these are the
Motion to
regulations.
waive the reading of 1420.
Second.
All in favor?
I just wanted to look down on number 6, line number 6, not line number 6, but item number 6. If we can change the he, she. If the complainant is not satisfied with the superintendent's decision.
Jeremy, you had rewritten this already. So what was your suggestion?
I don't remember.
Who's the committee?
Who comprises the committee?
I think we talked about that, if I remember. It's made up of, yeah, like it's determined like once.
Of the policy committee or of the? this
Of the
committee?
co-
Yes, so the committee, according to the regulation, it's laid out in part one of the regulation. So it must, I'm sorry, not part one, part three, excuse me. The instructional review committee would be an administrator, a librarian, a teacher, a parent, a student enrolled in the district to investigate the child material. And so in general terms, what that occurs, you have the informal meeting. The concern is not addressed at that. The individual filing the concern has the right to file the written complaint with the superintendent. The superintendent will convene that instructional review committee who follows the process as laid out in regulation. Makes a recommendation to the superintendent who can accept or reject. And then if the individual who filed the concern is still unsatisfied, they can go to the Board of Education.
Okay, so going back to, actually, I want to go back to number one. The second sentence, at this meeting, the complainant will be asked to make clear. We put the instead of his or her. The objection to the material.
In one line, which line?
The fourth line down, but it's the second sentence. At this meeting, the complainant will be asked to make clear the objection.
Yes.
And then if we, Carmen, are you ready for me? If we go to number 6, if the complainant is not satisfied with the superintendent's decision, remove he or she and put the complainant may refer. And then second sentence, the superintendent will deliver a copy of the decision instead of his, her. Sorry, I didn't catch that before.
We caught some of them because NISBA had said they were actually going to do this before they sent them to us, and we actually caught these in real time when we were going over them. So we have to be more cautious. We're trying, it's a lot.
Bit of motion to accept policy 1420R with the revisions that were just made.
Second.
On paper.
All in favor?
Second reading. Second reading, policy 1525 civility. Board of Education intends to foster a culture and practice of civility in all school.
Second.
On favor?
All in favor?
Did anyone have any comments after the? We had this at the last, we discussed this at the.
And thank you, Carmen, for providing the revisions, the strike through holds, the strike throughs. Thank you for that.
Who determines the disruptive, volatile, hostile, mean-spirited behavior? And I question that because I remember sitting in the audience with another board, with police officers here, with me and just one other man, and the board walking out on the other man when he got up to speak. I didn't feel threatened. I didn't really know what was even going on. I thought they were gonna come back. So, who's determining? Because we all feel things differently. You know, maybe I'm not used to loud people, and if someone's got a loud voice, I feel threatened.
So my perspective on your specific ask about Board of Education meeting is that would come down to whoever was moderating the meeting, which typically is the school board president. So, not that that's a responsibility that I would want, to be honest. I don't think any of us really would want that responsibility, but if it's my role, the board president's role, if I detect that anyone at the table is uncomfortable with something, that's when I would take action, or anyone else sitting in the seat would take that action. So in that particular case, it would fall under the moderator of the meeting. In the cases of things in school, that's a whole different story, right? I mean, that's not up to the board. That would be up to the administration.
So how do we make sure that there's a consensus among all administrators?
So that's the challenge, and that's setting common expectations. I think the best way that I view this is that we expect to model appropriate behavior for our students. What may be appropriate discourse in a seventh grade social studies class, or what may not be appropriate discourse in a seventh grade social studies class, may be appropriate discourse in a 12th grade AP debate class, or politics and government. So there's nuances there. I think what this policy gives us is an expectation that we know we have to balance our, the right of free speech with the fact that this is a school district where we are trying to model appropriate norms and behaviors for our students. At the same time, we're a public school, so many of our students come to us with a bit different backgrounds, perspectives, and beliefs. And feelings often, while relevant, you have to sort of balance that with the fact that there is free speech, but it has to be done in a way that is conducive to whatever activity is being played out. So for instance, on the soccer field, there's going to be some aggression, there's going to be some passionate approach to accomplishing that. We still expect our athletes to behave in a manner that is respectful and appropriate. That may look different than a gym class where you're learning the skills of soccer. So this policy gives us a framework to which to have those discussions, not necessarily a mandate of what that looks like.
How's this get communicated to,
So that's,
other than being?
it's always that fun line in most of the policies that the superintendent or their designee will develop regulations, right? So policy is the legal framework that an authorization that gives the school district to make decisions in a common approach. The regulations are how you live those out. So it's up to myself and my team to take this and communicate it with our staff. So I think Carmen and I are putting in a good place where we take a look at the policies that were approved, or I'm sorry, adopted at the previous meeting, sharing them with appropriate individuals, asking them to relay that to their staff if appropriate, and answer any questions at that time, so we're on the same page.
So that's a really good, I just want to say that's a good question, because we actually asked Mike and Carmen if this was just too much. Because every policy that we change or implement or adjust is work for them. And yes, and we have done a ton of policy.
I
But
mean, last year you would kind of hope that we could redo the entire policy within one calendar year. But because the execution of each of those adjustments falls back, it becomes a bottleneck and it's inappropriate.
Yeah, you want it to be
expectation of the
effective.
superintendent and staff.
if you're gonna make these kinds of suggestions and changes and implement these things, there has to be a proper amount of time. But Mike actually said, because he's very ambitious, that he's actually good with this because it's helping him learn our policy as we go along. But anytime we need to slow down, we will slow down, so. But it's a good question, because it's really important that this is our role in how the school works. This is our biggest role, really. So, but how is anyone ever supposed to know?
Right.
You're depending on the few people watching the board meetings or reading board docs, you know, so that's where he'll.
And the students as well.
So in a perfect world where there would be no phone calls, no emails, nothing requiring the attention of the cabinet other than, we would take these policies, and there are many policies that would require regulations to help flesh out how this isn't, to help really spell out. And we would take the time to do that, and that is on our radar. The policy by itself gives us the opportunity to develop a framework of how we respond. Some of those need to be codified.
And the question of like how to like the students and stuff, you know, like, so for example, this one, we changed it. This has been something, I don't think there was anything drastic change. It was just wording as to what it is. So it's not necessarily that you need to sit all the students down and necessarily do something, but if it was a policy put in place about cell phones, that would absolutely be something that would go through all of these. So not all of these pertain to, like, the next one is gonna be like, students who aren't going to school here. That wouldn't really be something that we would need
All the
to,
students would need to.
yeah.
Right. Something as important as stability though. sure the current students haven't even read the original one, so.
It has to
But
be.
yeah, but I think that's also built into like the everyday practices that you have within there without them necessarily having to reference the policy. It's just the norms, like you were saying, like the common norms of your,
And
Bill.
some of that addressed in that code of conduct.
Yes.
Which they signed off.
I read it to
Wow, that sounds well.
I did.
their nighttime reading.
Yes, they were just sleep fast.
Motion to accept policy number 1525, civility.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Okay, now we're moving on to our first reading. This is first reading of policy 1740, relationship with non-public schools. In recognition of its responsibility under state law and regulation, Board of Education
Motion to
will.
waive the reading.
Second.
All in favor?
So this just goes through, just to, so you can see the first couple are required. We don't have any say on the textbooks, software, like any of those things, those we have to offer to those students.
Special education with one of them, transportation, career education.
So some of these are not things that we have a choice on.
And again, the board, at the end, it says the board authorizes the superintendent to establish any and all rules, regulations, and procedures necessary to implement and maintain this policy. And this was just, this was a revision?
It wasn't, we never had a 1740.
This is brand new.
But we had a 17 one, no, it wasn't 17. It was buried somewhere else. There were two items that we combined to make this one.
Right.
So we're gonna retire, we're retiring two that were this. No, I remember that.
Someone asked the question. I think one of the trustees actually asked that question. Okay, so this will be discussed we're on the next board meeting. Okay, next one. First reading. Policy 1741, homeschooled students.
Motion to waive the reading.
Second. All in favor?
We had a change to this one, didn't we?
Yes, can we go to where it says participation in extracurricular activities? Can we cross out, strike through by their parents?
All three words. So in participation in extracurricular activities, we'll read students instructed at home are not permitted to participate in district activities or use district facilities other than as permitted under district policy 1500.
So we just wanted to remove the word by their parents, because
It's redundant.
yeah.
They also need to shop by someone else. Mhm. Any other questions or comments about this one? Okay, we will bring this one back to the next meeting. First reading, policy 1925, interpreters for hearing impaired parents. This is a required policy. The Board of Education.
Motion to waive the reading.
Second. One thing. So this one just outlines what the district is required to do by law for our hearing impaired parents.
And this was the one where it doesn't necessarily mean that. It can be done in a variety of ways, if I remember us saying, but if you wanted an interpreter, you had to submit paperwork 10 days prior to the meeting. But they could receive services in other formats besides an interpreter.
So. I'm just gonna ask before I make the motion, are we comfortable with something like this? That's a required legal policy to waive the second reading? I know we have been trying not to do this, but this is a required one. It's not anything we can really change in it. And that way we don't have to worry about bringing it back.
So motion to waive the second reading of policy number 1925, interpreters for hearing impaired parents.
Second.
All in favor? Motion to accept policy number 1925, interpreters for hearing impaired parents.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, thank you, everyone. We're gonna do the same thing now for the.
We can do the next one. Yep. This is, policy 1925E.1, interpreters for hearing impaired parents exhibit accommodation request. So this is the form they will fill out to make that request 10 days prior.
Motion to waive the reading.
Second. All in favor? Motion to waive the second reading of policy number 1925 E.2.
Second.
All in favor? Motion to accept policy number 1925 E.2.
Second.
All in favor?
Yeah, very good.
Yes.
Do we start at 2000?
We did, we're starting in 2000s, but now my internet is down. We're here? Nope.
It's 2000.
It's her Wi-Fi card.
No, it's the next one. We just did E.2.
No, we did E.1.
No, we did E.2.
No,
I think you're on one. So we did one.
We don't have to.
we don't have to, I have it here. This is, policy 1925-E.2, interpreters for hearing impaired parents exhibit response to request for accommodation. So this would be the district's form accepting.
Motion to waive the reading.
Second. All in favor? Motion to waive the reading for policy number 1925 E.2.
The second
did.
reading.
The second reading.
All in favor, sorry. Motion to accept policy number 1925 E.2.
Second.
All in favor? I think we have to go back to E1 because I did say E2.
Okay, well, just so that
It's on record.
There you go.
Motion to waive the second reading of policy number 1925 E.1.
Second.
All in favor? Motion to accept policy number 1925 E.1.
Second.
All in favor? Okay.
First reading. Policy, we're in the 2000 series, guys.
As we made it.
There's 9 series, there's 9 series, okay?
Well, we can close the whole chapter almost. You don't know what it was like to see the numbers change when we were sitting there. And then to see there's 7 more after this.
This is, policy 2000.
Still have some ones.
I know.
Come back.
Come on.
Don't remind us, Barbara, we're trying to.
Small victory.
Barbara's like, we still got more.
We still have more ones.
This is board policy 2000, board governance and goals. The Board of
Motion to
Education,
waive the reading.
Second.
all in favor? So this is the policy that explains why we're doing what we're doing tonight, which is going to be set our goals. Perfect.
Wow, foreshadow.
Anyone have any questions or comments about this and how it's written? Okay, we're gonna bring this one back to the next meeting. Okay. All right. Next. First reading, policy 2121, board member qualifications. The qualifications of a member of a Board of Education of a Hendrick.
Motion to waive the reading of policy number 2121.
Second.
So this one was just a change from.
All in favor?
Oh, sorry. This one is just a change from it being pretty much a paragraph, as you see above in the red, to just more of a bulleted list of qualifications, so nothing changed in terms of how you can qualify to be a board member or run to be a board member.
This was their recommendation to make it more clear.
One thing I just wanted to mention, I know that, so the citizen thing came from the state. And the previous one above doesn't have citizen, right?
Correct, that's.
Correct, yeah.
Yes.
That was my.
That was it.
So they added, I just
So they
wanted
added
to
that,
see,
yes.
make it clear that the state added that.
Yes.
So we didn't-
Yes.
But it's the same thing, because you have to be a qualified voter, and you can't be a qualified voter if you're not a citizen. So whether it was written or not.
They, yeah,
it's
they
implied the same.
defined it.
There's some that-
Yeah, so now they defined it.
Someone can't make an inference, then now it's spelled out for them.
Yeah, I mean, we did talk, you actually brought up the other piece of some, like the other part there, like, what does like incompetent mean, but it kind of like went through. Well, if you, or like reading and writing, I think we were talking about, you had to have passed the citizenship test, which you need to be able to read and write to pass that, so it's
So it's all.
by.
You need
yeah,
to
all
read and write in
connected.
English.
Yes.
Pass that to become a citizen.
Yes. So it's like all connected.
Do we want to change the his or her?
Oh, yes,
Yes.
absolutely. Where's that? Oh, yeah,
Be on the second.
yes, thank you.
What number was it?
In number 2 in the bold,
Yeah.
convicted felon is barred from running for a seat on a board of education if the maximum prison sentence has not expired, or if
The,
Can you just say there?
no,
Yeah.
we don't want to pluralize it,
No.
because we want to keep it singular.
They,
No,
no, they
Or-
have.
can we get rid of the if? Get rid of the if,
Yeah.
he and she, or has not been pardoned or discharged from parole.
Yeah.
perfect, that's why you're on
Like a
policy.
math, I mean, that's
So
like a
you're on
math
policy,
teacher.
Amelia.
Thank God for that literacy degree.
Okay, so we'll bring this one back again with those revisions. We are now on the first reading of policy 2220, board officers. The president and vice president of the board.
Motion, waive the reading.
Second.
All in favor?
So this defines the duties of the president and vice president of the board. I don't think,
Should we wait the second?
we can. I don't think there's anything, I want to make sure there's no his or her in this one.
There's none.
I don't think there is. I didn't see that.
And this isn't much changed from what it was before.
No, it's just bulleted. It's just, they're making them easier and more clear to
Right.
read. So we can waive the second reading.
Motion to waive the second reading of
Second.
policy
2220.
21,
2020.
2220.
Second,
All in favor?
motion to accept policy 2220.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. This is, policy 2230, appointed board officials.
Back, Norman.
I'm sorry.
District clerk, the Board of Education shall annually.
Motion, waive
No.
the reading.
Did you wanna, it was this one you wanted?
No, the other one, I was gonna say for the board member qualification, should we have just done a second, waiving of the second reading for that and just approve it since.
We can't change it. Sure.
Yeah. we can go back in
So we're
time.
gonna go back to
Let's go back in
2121.
time.
Yeah.
We're gonna table the current motion to read 2121 at the next. Oh, we're tabling 2230 for now, and we're going back to 2121. So make
Motion to waive the second reading of policy 2121.
Second.
all in favor?
Motion to accept policy 2121.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, now we're back to
back.
the first reading of policy.
Do anything, on table something.
Just make the next motion.
Motion to untable policy 2230.
Second.
All in favor? This one has, is confusing at the top. It says district clerk and then it says, oh, maybe that just needs to be bolded, Carmen, where it says district clerk and then district treasurer.
Board docs is a little funky when,
Yeah, this one just needs to be formatted just a little differently.
So I can bold it and underline it.
Yeah, underline it, bold it, and then make a space in between, 8 and then district treasurer, just so it's
Yeah,
clear.
well, if you can, bold and underline district treasurer as well. Only we knew it, district treasurer.
We just did that tonight. Doing something.
Come on, guys. Everybody find it on your toes. So that's why we did this. Because
So, hey, so have a cheat sheet. You have to say, rather. I move to take from the table, not to untable.
I move to take from the table.
No, you have to say, I move to take.
2230.
I move to take policy 2230 from off the table.
From the table.
From the table.
Could you table it?
We should just do it.
No, I didn't know.
Okay.
So now we can do it.
Yeah.
And now we are officially within the.
Okay, so Carmen, can you just make those edit, like, we could approve this one, but I think we're gonna just make the edits
We just waive them, continue to waive the meeting, because Jeremy didn't know the second waive.
on this one.
Yeah.
I
I
will say that,
but
go ahead, Jeremy.
Jeremy, wait,
Waive the
read it
reading
again.
again.
Motion to waive the reading?
Second,
So this one, bring back with the we're gonna change district clerk to bold, district treasurer to bold, add 2 spaces, so it's easier to read.
and when we started the 2000s, full transparency, we did choose to do this one because we were onboarding the district treasurer, so we wanted to make sure we had a job listing of what that we are expecting the treasurer to be doing.
Okay, so with those changes,
We make connections.
with those changes, we will bring that back. Okay, we're almost done. We are retiring. This is a retirement policy 1240, visitors to school. The Board of Education recognizes that schools are places of work.
Motion to waive the reading of policy 1240.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Only purpose behind this is because of policy 50.
Yes, the purpose behind this is because of policy 5350,
I'm sorry.
5300.
5300, which we approved.
The code of conduct.
The code of conduct. This wasn't, yeah, this is like a duplication of the code of conduct. Can we waive the reading?
Policy 5300 is already in place.
Yes.
Motion to waive the second reading of policy number
1240.
1240. Second.
All in favor?
Motion to retire policy 1240. Second.
All in favor? Okay, this is the first reading of retiring policy 1520, public conduct on school property. So this is the Board of Education recognizes the primary purpose of the school district is
Second.
all in favor.
Similar reason to retire. This policy is addressed in policy 5300.
Motion to waive the second reading of policy 1520. Second. All in favor? Motion to retire policy 1520. Second. All in favor?
Point of privilege.
Go ahead.
Just a reminder that any policy that is retired is still stored in our archive for community if they would want to see the changes. Thank you.
All right, good work, everyone. We know it's a lot. I actually would love to ask NISBA what school districts are doing this much policy at one time. And I know it's a lot, but I think it's the work that we're doing here is making a difference. And it's also helping us learn too, I think, as we move along, so.
And thank you to Carmen for
Yes.
always keeping us so organized.
Perhaps when NISBA puts out their requests for presentations or proposals, the board might consider applying and talking about the impact that a policy review has on school district operation and governance.
Yes. No.
Or not.
Anything else you want to add?
When we successfully accomplish our goal, we'll have a lot to speak of. So our next, discussion point, we have a board comments and new business, and we are bringing back the conversation on, data FOIL requests from August 2024. We're not gonna go through the whole, conversation again, but do you want to give a quick
Sure.
reminder of why we started this conversation?
Sure. So Greg, if you could spin up the presentation and pull up slide 8. Just a reminder, over the summer, the board entertained a discussion on, in its current policy, the board is authorized to charge for various aspects of FOIL requests. FOIL requests, as our district, as well as many other districts and public entities, have seen an increase in FOIL requests, and there is a cost both in terms of monetary items and anecdotal labor costs associated with that, and time, an opportunity cost of staff spending time doing that when they could be doing something else. So we just wanted to entertain a discussion based within the board's own written policy and practices around the region as to, did the board wish to entertain that charging? So if we go to our update for today, the board did come away from that discussion over the summer with two questions. Number one, can the district charge non-residents and not charge residents? And of the 44 FOIL requests from last year, how many took over 2 hours to address? And you can see the answers there. The legal authority exists to do that, but it's not recommended. When we implement policy, we always try to do that in a uniform way as to avoid confusion and perceptions about that non-uniformity. And then I'm not going to read you the data there, but the data shows you the number of FOIL requests from last year that did go over 2 hours. And the reason why 2 hours, I believe, is because there's policy language that anything over 2 hours, you can start incurring charges for the individual's crime.
Did anyone have anything that they wanted to discuss on this?
Well, I do. So I think not whether we should or shouldn't, but as a matter of conversation, I think it's important for the community to know that sometimes topics have to be discussed because it's important that we vet unintended consequences and thoughts. So I think that we got some feedback that people were shocked, appalled, upset that we were even considering these things, but I think it would be frankly irresponsible to not consider it because then people would be concerned that we're making decisions that are not being first brought to the table and have an opportunity to vet them publicly. That there's 7 people on the board and the superintendent all chime in and share different thoughts and perspectives. And we all walk away slightly more informed than we were when we sat. And it allows us to share with the community what caused us to come to the final decision that's ultimately voted on. So I think that people should just be patient, share your feedback, please. Thank you, because your perspectives are also valued. And I find that they help me sometimes consider unintended consequences, which is a word I use a lot, and phrase. And but just know that this is not done in a way to be harmful, but rather to be transparent. And sometimes you have to hear things that are not as comfortable, but just know that it's not because we're trying to make one decision or another. It's because we're trying to make sure that the decision that's made is ultimately appropriate.
Yeah, and it's also
And I'm
about.
speaking for me, not the board, but I
It's, well,
think.
I will just say, we cannot meet as a unit. Outside of this room, unless it is an executive session to discuss anything other than board topics. Well, like we can all have dinner together together, but we can't discuss school related items. And we cannot take action on those school related items. The only way for us to do that is to have these discussions in public. So sometimes things we talk about may seem a little out of the blue but we must have these conversations. We don't have unilateral, not one of us has any more power than anyone else. We must have these conversations in public. And honestly, I think it is important for the community to know how our staff resources, and this is why one of the reasons we wanted to bring this forward, how our staff resources are spent. And then the legal fees that also are attached to that. So now it's all out in the open. We've had the conversation and we can move on. I think if each of us can just go around the room one at a time, you can either waive your opportunity to speak or speak to it, and then we can have a vote. I'm gonna start with Lauren.
So I can see it from both sides. Obviously, it's not nice to charge people for information that they should be able to get when they need it. But I do understand taking away from someone's daily job to have to FOIL something for over 2 hours. So in my opinion, I kind of feel it's okay. Well, maybe just, put it out there that there could be a charge for over 2 hours and see if the person still wants to go forward with it. And obviously maybe tell them exactly what the fee would be and give them the option, if they want to move forward with it. But if things are taking over 2 hours and other things are piling up, that's a problem for the staff member doing the job.
Right.
I don't think we should charge. I just feel like hiding behind a fee is just not right for the community because there's people who might not be able to afford to pay for it and still need that information. And I think as a board, we need to just be open and transparent with the community, and that's a part of it. If they need something that they want, they shouldn't have to find funds for that information when the district, and I get it, right? I understand Carmen is spending hours of her time doing it from what we saw from last year. It's a lot of hours. I get it. But I also feel like in the grand scheme of like our budget and the amount of money that we spend on other things, trying to charge a community for FOIL requests is not something I would be okay with. So that's just my thought.
I actually am gonna say that I currently don't support the charge. However, I would say that it would be an open conversation for discussion in the future if we were to have to hire more staff to accommodate all of the future requests. So if we're currently able to manage it in-house and there's a, you know, we can, you know, find a way to satisfy all the requests, but not necessarily have to add additional staff in order to fulfill all of the requests, then I'm okay for now saying no. And I think it's worth discussing in the future, should that become a budgetary problem.
So I actually agree with everyone. I think it's most important that we discussed the options in public. We discussed the impact on the community. We discussed the impact on our staff. I think we've accomplished that. At this time, I'm not for charging. So in the beginning of this, I started with, we should be looking at charging non-community members, but then that gets into who determines if they're community members versus non-community members. So at this time, I'm leaning towards not supporting this, but I agree with Jeremy. And I think Tamika as well agrees. We may have to revisit this, but we have to hire staff.
I personally think we have so much that's going on. We just changed so much within our district and we are piloting new programs. We are doing so much that we're trying to rewrite all of the policy or look at all the policies within the district. I just think that at this time, I don't think we have the time dedicated to continue researching this unless it becomes something that is taking away from something else. So I would say I would not be voting yes at this time to asking anyone to pay for FOIL requests.
I think the budgetary concerns, the public has the right to know. So in slide 6, I believe it says 26,000 in legal review or 20, could you give me a number for what it costs in personnel? I know you're saying 2 hours, but if you could just give the public the information, like it cost FOILs last year, cost the district X amount of dollars.
It's hard to say, I think, because some of that could have been overtime. It's gonna be hard. I mean, I don't know if you could estimate that, if it's.
I think we should estimate it. I am not for charging for FOIL requests, but I do think the public is entitled to know exactly, well, not the exact, the estimate dollar amount.
Point of privilege. Could we allow Carmen weigh in on an estimate?
Well, it's not only me, there's other departments that are taking time away, and then I have to have a look at their hourly wages, there's a lot involved with getting that information together. I might be able to, you know, it's gonna take time.
Is it gonna take you more than 2 hours?
Yes.
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 Maybe we could estimate the number of, Stephanie, would your request be satisfied by providing maybe an approximate number of employee hours spent as opposed to the dollar component? Because if you have employee A who makes some amount, and employee B who makes another, really what the issue would be if we were to hire someone to help us with FOILs, they would be at this flat rate and it wouldn't be as varying, right? So with the number of hours that we spend, because that's the number of hours that they're not spending helping kids learn more or better or more
You can
productive.
quantify it that way.
But then we have that
Say one more
here.
thing, a lot, the technology department is involved in this a lot as well, so their time is enormous. So
The time they spend foiling, working on foils,
working on FOIL, yeah.
not foiling.
Because I'm also looking at it as a taxpayer. And for taxpayers who are concerned about the increase in their school tax bill, I think they're entitled to know in our budget line what this would be.
It's not in the budget line currently. It's not, it's not in the budget line.
So
I'm I wonder if we actively start keeping track of hours from the state.
That's what I started doing this year, and that's what I think we were gonna have a discussion, to see how this year is gonna go.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna keep track of the hours for this year.
It said you had like 44 last year, right?
Because 32 of them were over 2 hours.
It's just in the spirit of being transparent for people at home to attach a dollar amount to it, but I'm not for charging.
I think it'd be difficult to go back. But
Yeah.
going forward, I think we can probably quantify it easy.
I think it's something that, I think it's really important to keep track of now going forward, so we can, if that has to be revisited for whatever we have the data.
And you won't have to foil the amount.
Hello.
They were great.
I don't think I'm gonna add anything that you guys haven't already said. I definitely am not supporting charging at this point. But I think it'll be helpful to have the data, and we'll be able to revisit it because I see both sides of it, like you guys were saying. But I feel like in my job, I'm not allowed to say I want more money because something new comes up. And I feel like I have to just kind of prioritize and figure out how to get the thing done, the extra thing. There's always extra things, so.
I'd like to make a motion to table the discussion on the FOIL request indefinitely.
Second.
That's correct, no?
No, wait, hold on, but if we do it indefinitely, that means that if it starts to cause money, then we can talk about it again.
So I believe there was no motion made. It was just a discussion, so we can end the discussion. But I do appreciate the board adhering to its strategic plan action item of implementing Robert's Rules of Order in its parliamentary procedures.
Sure.
That was a great discussion, guys. That's how all of our discussions should go.
That has to be said.
But it was great. Everyone talks, everyone gets theirs right now. That was wonderful.
Oh, man.
Ready for those goals?
Okay,
No.
now we move on to our board goals discussion. No, it's not that. I hear that. So I wanted to do that. I wanted to be able to write, type it really in my hand. Okay. So, okay, we are moving on to the board goal discussion. So I started this just the way that Mike starts everything with our mission statement to remind us why we are here. The presentation and objectives. The board sets goals annually. These goals are what we would like to achieve by the end of each school year. We will monitor those throughout the year. It's recommended that we monitor every 6 months. So in 6 months, we probably have a check-in. We will develop these goals together tonight and refine and finalize them at the next board meeting. And our task, everyone at the table is tasked ahead of time with bringing any ideas, discussion points, or goal statements to add or to discuss tonight. So I thought it was really important to include, just so everyone understands, the board goals are different than the district goals. The district goals are set. Mike's going to present those at the next board meeting. They're set by the administration and his team and Mike's team. They set them, they're gonna bring them to us. This is a little different. This is what our role. So the board's role is not operational. We are here to make sure that our students are successful. And that is for the superintendent and his team to set those, what that looks like, what that means, and present to us as concerns come up. Policy is one of our biggest jobs, but it's really overall governance of the district. So I kind of put a summary. I took this right from the Lisbon New School Board Member Handbook. I actually want to read this because I think it's really important. An effective school board member understands it is not his or her job to run the district, but instead ensures the district runs effectively and efficiently. In other words, the board oversees the education of students and is responsible for school district operation, but does not directly run the district's day-to-day operation. And with that in mind, we create our board goals, which is part of our work to do this. Does that make sense?
Okay, so when we were in retreat this summer, we started out with a really brief, quick conversation about what we might want our goals to be, to discuss in public, just so we had some kind of starting point tonight. Our first goal was community engagement. We spoke about it very briefly that evening, but we were gonna bring it here for what does that mean to the board? How would that look for us, community engagement with our community? Anyone?
Hi, so this is probably the most important one to me, because I'm a new board member, and the transition from being a member of the community to a member of the board is intense, and there's a huge learning curve, and I'm in it right now. And so while everything is fresh on my mind, I feel like this is something that we can easily make strides in. There's gonna be achievable things in this category, and while I don't think anything is easy, I have a couple of ideas of things, that I'm not gonna throw them out right now in terms of specifics, but just things that we've all talked about, being more, everyone uses the word transparent, but through technology, being able to communicate with the community more easily, whether it's organizing parent meetings, and I know, we've had a hard time getting a lot of engagement, so we need to come up with ways that will sort of bridge the gap of, that we've had in the past. So I think technology, and one of the things, I think you were gonna bring up after is the board docs thing, which we can talk about, but making technology more easy for our community to use, to be notified, and, you guys made great strides with Parent Square with that. I know a lot of people are really thrilled with that. It, obviously it needs some work to get to be where it needs to be, but between that and I think just being more accessible to the community and being open to meeting people where they are and hearing people's concerns, like you do when you're running for the board instead of, so those are the kinds of things I think community engagement, we can make improvements on.
I actually, very specifically to the last point that you made, the part that I was thinking was that we should continue to have meet and greets. Where I put schedule regular meet and greet events where community members can interact directly with board members, discuss district issues and provide input.
Exactly.
So we had, I also put in something too about focus groups and meeting with them as well. But
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to make suggestions that may seem like, oh, we can't do that, so I want to vet, I want to vet ideas with you guys first.
It's a lot of what.
Yeah, I mean, like, when we did that town hall last year with the local officials, I thought that was a really well done event. And I feel like we could do something like that, because that brought the students in, the questions were asked by the students. I mean, I think there were like so many questions, they couldn't even get to the questions. So like things like that just bring us off the streaming meeting thing and into, a place in the community where things are more accessible.
So, okay, well, first of all, like I don't know what that event would look like.
I don't either.
To get students engaged, because the way that they got the students engaged last year was, I think the kids got extra points for writing questions and then coming and being present. So we didn't just magically get 48 kids to show up here. It was,
So we can think of something.
it was,
that would
no, but
take
it wasn't a
parents.
bad thing. It was done through the social studies
Yeah.
department. I think it was a beautiful thing. Any certain things get kids excited.
Yeah.
If it's 2 extra points, if that's what's gonna get them to come sit through
Mhm.
a meeting like that, I mean.
Well, it's also the parents though, and I feel like we can think about ways
Yeah,
that
parents.
of things that would get parents interested in coming.
So the other part
Some
about,
sort of brownie points for parents.
the other part I've learned about the Board of Ed that's different than the PTA, is that the Board of Ed, like, we only hear from people typically when there's a problem.
Right.
So we can do community meet and greets. I'm like other I'm happy, I will sit for 3 hours in a room with my computer if I can work. If nobody shows up, they don't show up. That's how I feel about meet and greets myself.
Yeah,
Um,
I was gonna say like sort of like office hours where you say, you know,
other
on.
districts do that.
I also
This-
think
yeah.
we should go where people are, like, I'm just thinking, like, if we know that Sundays, there's the thing in Brookline by the riverfront.
Yeah.
What if we say like two of us will be there, you know, on Sundays, where we know people are gathering, and that's just one example of like places, but like sporting events, like if we know people are gathering there. And then we show up and we stay in like a spot where they can come and talk to us would be something, but I know.
Maybe there's a way
Stephanie-
to submit questions beforehand of things that
I know
people want to talk
Stephanie
about,
wanted to
so we can
chime
come
in too.
prepared. I don't know. No. I'll just want to.
I go back to the meet and greets, and I remember sitting at Dunkin' Donuts on a Sunday with nobody showing up. So that I'm not willing to do. But I would really like to see like some parent workshops for everyday struggles that parents go through. Like help, my child doesn't want to go to school, my child has no friends, like some. Get parents in to talk about their real problems. And put them in focus groups, kind of like we did with the reconfiguration, when we met in different rooms. But you put parents together and let them talk, and then you're mingling with them and hearing the concerns. But then I have a purpose for going there,
Yeah, Amelia has focus groups,
not focus groups,
yeah, we have to.
but I guess in a sense, it is a focus group.
So we would have to learn, so for the board to manage something like that, it would have to be for something for us to learn specifically. Because we can't run a focus group on something as a board.
You need a subject matter that we're trying to.
Right.
A topic. that we're trying to
Like
learn.
honestly, I would say, like, and we're getting really granular in the weeds here.
Yes.
But let's just say, honestly, cell phone policy, like, that's not something we're writing without feedback. So that's something schools are having hearings, and that is driven by the board saying to the superintendent, like, we have to move on this, right? So we can come up with those specifics. I think let's make the goal attainable. And,
But I think we should
within our
learn
purview.
from the reconfiguration
I was gonna
process.
say within our purview, because we don't wanna start getting into the wheels. That's why we have the shared decision-making
Yes.
team, the site-based teams. They're doing all that work. Parents, the teachers, they're getting input and feedback. So I don't think we go that far into the weeds, right? I think we need to have more of like a
It's more
broader
parent to
overview
parent.
of just where we wanna be as a board
Yeah.
and things we wanna accomplish for ourselves. And I don't think we should get that far into it because
Oh.
then
Unless there's a policy, so
Right.
policy, you would have a hearing, things like that, like we've done in the past, that would work. We can include wording for that. Amelia actually came up with. You did your homework, you shared how you thought to maybe envision how we write this goal so that we can get it into words and then tweak it.
The goal that I had written was enhance community engagement by establishing focus groups and organizing meet and greet events with board members, and then underneath. I had objectives. The one objective, like for the focus group, was to gather feedback and address concerns about school district policies and programs. Meet and greet I read before, and then I have also facilitating open dialogue to strengthen relationships and ensure community voices are heard and considered in decision-making processes.
And I think we would add, improve
I like the improved technology.
technology
Yeah, I was gonna say that definitely.
and
has to be-
communication. Between the board.
Can we also include community organizations? A civic initiative there? To build partnerships with maybe like the Rotary Club? And other organizations, maybe the VA.
Maybe our
Might meet with
partnership,
them regularly.
maybe that partnership could be to continue to show, like last year. When we had, the Boy Scouts come. And we had that robotics team come, maybe that could be something where we continue to also highlight and honor them at our board meetings.
But maybe we can bring community organizations in.
Now, there's what I'm saying, right, just like we did with there, but like you're saying with.
So great ideas, board, and just know that I will be keeping notes to assist you in meeting your board goals as well. As an example, Carmen and I work today on scheduling time where we can go to the the Montrose Veterans Home, and serve coffee during their socials. So when those dates are scheduled, I will certainly put it out to the board if you are able to attend, you are more than welcome to join.
One thing I wanted to just talk about really quickly. I think we don't get a lot of engagement from the community when it comes to like board docs, right? Because everybody, they have great difficulties figuring out how to like go through all the agenda items and what's on there. And one of the things I thought that we should think about doing is loading everything to like one PDF. So like when we do the announcement on like the Facebook page, like there's a board meeting. And then you just have one document that they could just open and see all the things we're gonna be discussing. So it's there. They don't have to search anywhere. They could just open up, click, and boom, voila.
You're gonna listen about 45 minutes.
Oh, okay, because I just feel like, honestly, I feel like a lot of people aren't like tuned into the board meetings because they don't know how to follow what we're discussing because they can't really navigate the board docs document. But if it's like one PDF, you just make it as simple as possible. One PDF that you just open, and then everything that we're gonna be talking about is right there, and they could just right from the Facebook page, because a lot of people use the Facebook, the district Facebook. So I feel like that's a good place to be.
I think a lot of people have no idea what Board Docs is.
Correct,
Or,
that's the
if
other
you're not,
part,
if you're
right?
not involved, I don't even think, and that's not an insult to people, I didn't know what it was.
And I think
It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, and it'll actually invoke more conversation if people
What it is.
know what we're talking about, then it's easier for them to get more involved and understand, what we sit here and do for hours.
So I want this conversation to be robust and continue on late in the evenings. Should we need some? I'd like to excuse the cabinet because I want them rested and refreshed.
Hi, guys. So much. Thank you. Now you're never gonna know what our goals are.
I'll watch. I'll all the way home.
30 years.
Seems like that was our goal. Be nice to be in.
I will watch the whole way home.
I will we can make sure that the cabinet.
We're gonna give you a test.
I do that.
Minutes.
Thank you, Erica. I didn't.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Thank you.
Oh, my.
Yeah. I said, it's 9 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock.
Thank you, guys.
Hey,
Great opening day. Thank you. Second week.
Good night.
Get some rest. Thank you.
So
Thank you, everybody.
I'm gonna jump a little bit because it's tied to this. We are, Corey and I, Amelia couldn't make it, so Corey and I met with Carmen and Mike and Diligent, which runs Board Docs essentially. So I'm getting ahead, we're getting ahead, this is part of our new business conversation, Corey and I were gonna bring to you guys. So New York State School Board Association is going to phase out Board Docs as it exists right now. It's gonna take 5 to 10 years because 3,300 schools are currently on Board Docs. Now, what we learned is that there's also, one of the kind of where it started was, there's a step up from the regular Board Docs that we have, which is really basic. That basic Board Docs costs $2,700 a year. So it's within our budget. Our entire board budget this year is $8,000. That's part of that budget.
It's the light version.
It's a light version. So,
Ads. Does it have ads?
so then we went and we actually explored the version that's a step up from that. And, Carmen, she has a whole list provided to her of what you get with that. It's things like, in that version, it looks a little cleaner. You can make it a little bit more user friendly to the eyes. But that costs approximately $12,000 a year. So we obviously didn't budget for that. But then there is something now that NYSBA they just signed this like a week or two ago. With Diligent Community, that is really what it looks like is a website for the board. So everything is there, PDFs, our calendars, our goals. Corey, what else? It was like so amazing. It was like a one-stop shop for the board. Now that is just under $10,000 a year. So what we had discussed, and this could be one of our goals, is we were going to discuss with you tonight to move forward
with planning for that to start July 1st, 2025. If we did that, there's an added expense we'd have to budget for that, but the experience of our community members, and there is an app to go along, like they're working on an app to go along with it, would be much better. So, that was part of our new business, but maybe
So there's not an app, it's optimized for.
it's
for mobile.
optimized for cell phone. So, we can bring more to you on that, but maybe that's what one of our goals, the reason I brought this up is because this goal is gonna get heavy. So maybe we want to make that its own goal to improve board docs, to improve the user.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing in it that excites me the most is literally you can sign up in there for notifications.
Mhm.
So when something goes in and the agenda's there and it's like a new meeting, then
But how do you?
if you've signed up as a community member for the notifications, you're gonna get it. And I feel like that's like what we need is that rather than just having on our website, we have a board meeting coming up or whatever. You know, before I was on the board, like I forgot sometimes I get a lot of that stuff, but getting a notification reminding me that there's a board meeting and that here's the agenda, to me will make a big difference.
Can we just put a link to the board docs then on Facebook page?
That's what I'm saying, like, so just, it's just
Can we
one,
just add that link to?
one
to that?
PDF. Is that how the
I don't think-
interface is?
No, I don't think it's that easy. And what you're asking for is not that easy. We can explore it. I don't think it's that easy for Carmen to do. Are you talking about making this what we see a PDF file?
Yeah, one, the agenda.
Just the agenda? I can do the agenda.
Yeah, she's just saying.
No, but the agenda
then
and all
people-
the policies, like, it's literally 2 clicks on
Links
the
to the-
PDF, you
links
just
to
merge
that.
all the pages.
So
So if
that
he
is-
has it saved in a folder, like, these things you have typed up.
They're all PDF individual.
PDFs, right?
Yeah,
So
so
all
we
I
asked-
literally do, right, is you would just create a folder on your desktop and put all those PDFs for this meeting in there. And then in the
We'll make one
PDF
link.
thing, you just do
Yes.
merge PDFs and everything is one PDF.
Yeah.
So that you're not, and then all you can do while you're in there is just search it, like move it over, move the pages based on the agenda, and it's all on one.
But Facebook doesn't allow PDFs.
That's the only thing I was thinking.
Correct.
If it's
Oh, but you
Facebook,
can put
I
a
don't know
link to
about
the
Facebook.
PDF. So like you do the Facebook post, you just put a link, here's the link for the PDF, and then you can just click on it and it opens it.
So I'm gonna say, we are in the weeds. We need to make a goal
Yeah.
that, we need to make a goal that effectively accomplishes what you're asking for. So if the goal is part one, make board docs, which is our formal communication with their community, easier to navigate, more easily accessible. That is a goal. I think that's a goal in and of itself.
Can I make a small suggestion, a piggyback suggestion maybe? What if the link to the board docs for that meeting is just on a Facebook page?
I like it.
It is.
It is. If it is.
Link to board docs is a page.
What if?
I don't know, I don't use Facebook.
So if I could provide some context, I think the board's goal of community engagement is one of those, you're seeing the dichotomy there, right? You want the community to be engaged, the community is going to be engaged on topics that it finds really passionate about, right? Because we're all busy. So communication goes hand in hand in community engagement, and you also have to think about what is the role of the board? Because that is what you want people to engage in. So rightfully so, you're looking at policies, your meetings. And I always say, the most transparent action a board has is conducting a meeting of the Board of Education in public. And I will help, as I said, help you facilitate other opportunities for community engagement where I'm still getting to know the community. I'm carrying out the board's strategic plan. Our team is carrying out the board's strategic plan. And at those opportunities where I engage the community, you will always have an invite to go there as well.
What if that goal?
So on Saturday mornings, you can come shoot baskets with me.
What if it's not necessarily like the goal here, you're ready to like improve the experience, what if we're not going to improve it, what if we research different avenues to be used for, I'm
I
trying
think
to
it's
think of
just,
the word, like
it's optimizing
researching.
communication and technology with the.
So our job right now is to research some of that. So like,
Right,
you guys
that-
went to the workshop.
Right.
exploring that
Yeah.
piece of what if we're gonna do this, like, we need to research and explore
Ways to
Ways to
optimize
com-
communication.
If you can't change it, if that tool's not yet ready,
Yeah.
then we can't implement it by the end of the year.
Yeah, that's.
It is,
fine.
yeah, 'cause we're
That's
not
a
in
good
ready.
goal, though.
Well, but no, we're saying we
Explore
wouldn't
and
get
figure
it
out
till
how
July
to take the
1st.
Next steps to do something different.
Like, cause we didn't
Or
budget for
or
it this
other-
year.
Yeah,
So our goal is to find something that we can use for next year.
right, and then sort of just figure out how we can make improvements for the rest of this year with our current systems.
And then we can do all the community outreach, that could be
Yeah.
a good one too, right? So like the things Mike goes to that.
I mean, this alone will save Carmen hours, don't you think?
With the diligent,
Yes.
diligent, yes.
She's beyond, like, honestly, the hours that she's spending on foil
Carmen's like,
will be,
I like this one.
yeah.
It's just, cleaner.
There are so many things that it can do that we can't.
Can't do now.
Yeah, we can keep track of all the separate committee reports, like, all the different, policies, in progress. We can vote through it, we can live stream through it, like, you can,
I just think.
they can put this, so you have one page where you can do everything.
I hate to be a naysayer, but it's our end game here that we think more parents are gonna be coming to the meeting out there.
They're not interested, they're not coming.
Because I really
It's not a
think
topic
when it's
they're
a
interested
passion, if it's not a topic that you're interested in, you're not even looking for the information.
But I think a part of it is we have to make it easier for them to have like, my thing is, I just wanna give them all the information, right? To say, hey, this is a click away of what we're doing.
And they don't have to
if-
be
And
here.
they don't have to be
Right.
here, it could
Do it on
just
a
be,
video.
hey, I looked at that PDF and that policy, that 112 thing stuck out to me, maybe something in there.
I get what you're saying, all the
and so for
PDFs
me, it's
together.
just- Yeah, for me.
But I don't think putting $12,000 into a new app for board docs is gonna get more people to use.
No,
it.
I don't want that.
actually
I like,
think-
the PDF is, for me, is what I think, because it's easy,
Can I-
it's.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, that's okay.
The only advocate of that, of the PDF, we make changes to those things and add things. The agenda gets revised, so then it's just, something would get amiss, that's something I would say. When the agenda gets revised, I'd have to redo all that. Find the PDF.
So maybe the
again.
goal
Well,
this
you-
year is just to put
You
the,
say, yeah, you have the one document and all you do is just open it and it has all the files in there. You literally just delete the one that you're adding and just put it in there. And it's in the file. You don't have to re-merge it. You don't have to re-put them in again.
but then someone has to do it on the website. It's a logistical thing and no other school districts are doing this, so it's something we have to explore.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a thought. I just think if you give them all the information, it's a click and it's not them trying to navigate another website and trying to figure out how to
Here's
do
the-
something.
I'm just gonna say, I'm just gonna say this because I'm actually on Facebook right now. We post tons of stuff on our Hendrick Hudson High School, our Hendrick Hudson School District page, tons of things.
Reese there.
So,
Reese is there?
Reese is at the top.
cover photo.
So we have the first thing here from 7 hours ago was about one of our students, and it had 83 likes and 17 comments. Our 9/11 post today has 51 comments and shares. Then we have our
Yep,
tennis
tennis.
team, and we have 65 likes and 3 comments. Then you get to the Board of Ed meeting and there's 1 like. I'm telling you, after years of experience doing this, and being the only parent sitting here for many years, it doesn't matter, if there's not a topic that they're interested in, they're not going to be.
So here's my
engaged.
concern with that, right? For years, we've done it this way and we are getting limited engagement from the community. Why don't we try something different and see if that sparks their interest? Because clearly the old way isn't working.
But
because
you don't
nobody-
want people, unless you have like, the thing is, most boards don't.
I don't want
want
them
to be
here. I
aware
want them
what's going on.
informed. I want parents to know what we're doing so they understand what the Board of Ed is doing. Because a lot of times you meet a lot of people and they're like, I don't even know when the meetings are. I don't have time to look.
Well, a lot
at
of
it
people
every day."
don't, a lot of people don't even know what the Board of Education does or is.
But that's
That's
what I'm saying.
correct.
I think in order for us to get the engagement, we have to at least
Well,
try
that's why we're
something
making,
different.
that's why we're making the goal.
Yeah, and I was gonna say the goal though is not saying we're getting it, it's
No.
just saying we're researching it and exploring,
Yeah.
exploring ways to improve it.
You're on the Facebook? Can you just answer this question to me? When you click on the link for board docs, where does it take you? Does it take you to tonight's agenda? Or do you have to click through a series of things?
Worked it would.
Takes you to board docs.
But
Because
this takes you to the board docs.
I think you should just put the link, right to the agenda.
It won't let it, I've tried it.
It won't let you.
No.
See, that, there's a problem.
But
Board-
that's a board docs.
Board docs is limit,
That's not-
board docs board docs in and of itself is extremely limiting.
Because we have the light version.
Yeah, but I don't think the other versions all
I
that
think
much
the other
better.
version's gonna.
So I don't think the version's
Can't
gonna,
just post the agenda.
The agendas and board docs,
What?
the agendas and board docs.
I can
We
do a
can post
PDF
the
of the
agenda,
agenda.
you can't do a
Right,
PDF
that's-
file here.
You
can't
can do
do
a link,
PDF.
you do the PDF and then you just do a link, and then they click the link
You
and the
can
whole
make it into
PDF
any
open.
What if it just gets sent out on?
yeah, but once again, if people aren't interested in the topic, they're not gonna look at it.
Do you guys, are
But
you guys,
this-
wait, are you guys really interested in sending out our meeting alerts to every single parent?
Or let people
No.
know the meeting is happening, or,
But-
I mean.
What
or
we're
in
talking
another
about
way
now,
than
though,
Facebook. That's-
what we're talking about now ties back to our goal one, which is talking to the community and doing those focus groups. Maybe that's something that we should be talking to them about. Is this something that you would want to invest your money in? Is this something that you would want to change? Maybe we do something that doesn't cost money. I think that we can't decide necessarily how we feel about board docs without asking, but that's going back to our goal number one.
Because that's the thing, if you
Of
put it
meeting
out there and everybody, it's a
people.
simple way for everybody to read it. If there's only 10 people watching these meetings, right, the takeaway isn't just what those 10 people are saying. It's on a document that people can read for themselves and figure out what things they're passionate about or things.
And a
that
lot of
speak to
times
them.
as a community member, you're told, look on board docs.
Board docs,
That's
yeah,
the
that's
answer
what
to
I prefer
questions.
everybody to.
But we get those
It's on board
emails
docs.
of the board, like the news clips of education related things, obviously you're not gonna read all of them, but like I like to look at the ones that I like and then click on it, so
Yeah.
if you got, like, the public got an email with like the things we're gonna talk about, maybe you could click on
Yep.
what you wanna see, and then maybe you would come, or,
The e-clips you're talking about, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think those are good goals. So like, we need to just refine and discuss board docs and how we can move forward with that.
Do you
Sounds like
cross-posting?
some of what we're
I
doing
never get
here
anything from
Yeah, I
Facebook.
feel like maybe it
It's
should
not
be a different way than
information.
Facebook.
So part of the problem is what we're coming up with right now are not ideas, but actually instruction, and we're not supposed to give them charge, right, meaning the administrators. It sounds like what we should probably consider maybe is, hey, all of these are valid, let's, through our community engagement and making ourselves available, learn what people would love to see different. Hey, what do you love? What would you love to change, right?
Yeah.
Two really great questions. And then we can then formulate a series of options to roll out. Because also, look, we just had a conversation that foiling is expensive. Well, if we're gonna have what Carmen has to do it through board docs now, right? That's the tool that has to be utilized. So until there's something else, if we ask her, like even with the e-clips, she would then have to have every one of these things made into a PDF that's available on a web page that it can then be clicked into and gone, because it's not, right? Eclipse is just basically aggregating news stories that already exist on the internet, right? And then they're sharing those websites into a digest, basically. Carmen would then have to recreate all of that in addition to the rest of her job.
The number one reason why people aren't involved is because they don't have time. And if you're passionate about a topic, you make time. So if I really look at community engagement and I want to be effective, I think what Amelia said about going to events that are they're already at the sporting event. But you know what? That's the only time you're gonna get parents to come up and talk to you, but I think it has to be, you'd have to have a table or something.
Yeah, like I said, I'm fine. A lot of boards have office hours where they rotate into the district, we sit in the district office and wait for people to come. I would do that. I'm
We
working,
could like rotate.
well,
And like a lot of us-
if people are working, it's gonna be very difficult for them to rotate.
But a lot of us already do things like, I'm already gonna be at some sporting event, so then maybe I stay for an extra hour after. You're like at, I was gonna say like, Amir's like, what if you just, stayed at the top and one of us meets you there, and as people are coming in and out of the gym or something, and
I
You know,
think that you would get more people that way and more opinions. And it can't just
and
be
it doesn't just have to be parents from here, right? We can go to places where
like,
there's a variety of people.
Yes.
There's also tools
The
out there.
supermarket, what if I'm at the supermarket?
Like the Cub Scouts
That
sit
the Cub
outside.
Scouts sit outside. I'm at places where people already are going to be. I'm not asking them to come to me, I'm going to them.
But, okay, so I get the, let's go outside and meet them where they are. But let's all be honest here, there's gonna be some not so nice conversations that might start to happen when we're sitting at these places. I don't really wanna be sitting at a table with a not so nice person if it's that's the way it goes, because then how are you interacting with them based on the day that you're there?
That's why it's important, a lot of the time it's important for the superintendent to be present.
Right, and you can really,
Yeah,
as
present.
board members, in those situations, we can really only listen. We're not supposed to really discuss
That's right.
anything that, like, it's coming from the board anyway, because there's 7 of us that have to provide input. So we're basically just working as a funnel to just sit there and collect all this information and then kind of bring it back to the board as a feedback, whereas I think when we did the meet and greets with the reconfiguration last year, the restructuring, it was more tailored. There was a topic, we had like information to present to the community, and then we got feedback from that information that we were presenting. I think that's a much more effective way to get at the information we want.
Well,
than just doing.
I wouldn't say like you're standing out there with nothing, we would have a topic, so maybe the topic is board docs, and maybe we have like something where they fill out like, have you ever been on board docs, right, like.
I do, I'm gonna go back to like a workshop, and if not a workshop, a focus group, and it being more like the reconfiguration.
Yeah.
Where we were all in separate rooms and people were sitting in tables and it rotated. I think I met more community members. I met people who had different points of views that I've never ever considered. It was very productive.
And we
And
we gotta have
also-
topics that people wanna show up, so.
Yeah, and once
We
again,
were also
it has to be
armed- we were
relatable to
also
what they
armed with
want.
Information, right? So
We
like,
send out a
if
poll.
people had questions, we had all the information
What
so
people
that we
wanted.
can then answer their question. So it wasn't just us sitting there listening with that, with no feedback, with no dialogue. We were able to say, hey, it's gonna cost X, Y, and Z because it's up on the sheet as we're discussing it. But I think to just go in blind and just have like these, these.
Yeah, you can't go.
I also just think being like approachable to like people we know. Like, people even before I was on the board tell me things all the time, and like, we all know people in all the schools, teachers, parents, students, you hear things from. I mean, I think just being like an approachable person people can relate to and not feeling forced to come to like a forum or someone's table.
I agree.
Sometimes that's like awkward, like I wouldn't, if I saw you guys sitting outside, I wouldn't go up to you.
Maybe it's a matter of publishing our emails and reminding people that
Yeah.
they can email any individual on the board
Yeah.
to set up a time to have a discussion.
Yeah, or maybe there's
It
someone
doesn't
on
have
the
to be
board someone
hours,
feels
it could
more
be-
comfortable talking to than others, and then we could bring those concerns back, or, and all talk together about what
But
we
then we
hear.
also, maybe we pick 2 topics as a board.
Yeah.
Right,
It would
and
be
we pick our
overtime,
hot
it's not-
button topics, like how.
You don't wanna force it
restructuring
to
was.
and make it
And
feel
then we
like,
just do like the thing we did for it, and then
Yeah.
we just do, maybe that's our goal, we wanna do 2 of those meet and greets of 2 hot button topics. Self-district, where we can discuss and get community.
So what is what I have? Enhance community engagement by establishing focus groups and organizing meet and greet events with board members in the community. That's what I have. Then I have goal 2, because we created a separate goal.
Goal 1, can we put and or, because maybe like focus groups and or
Yeah.
meet and greets, this
Okay,
way like.
then we created goal 2 out of this conversation. Research and explore ways to optimize the user experience and technology with board materials and board docs.
Yep.
So that's 2 goals, it's almost there. Goal 2 is very simple, revise, the goal here is to get through the 4,000 and 5,000 series policy.
Do it.
Right now.
We can get this.
We
No
got
problem.
this.
That's a big.
Policy committee, you ready? 20 a meeting? Check.
Goal 3.
Goal 3, and we'll word that nicely for the next, Amelia and I will revisit the wording of that, so it's like an actual worded goal, we don't have to discuss it too much. Now, goal 3 is budget. Create a fiscally responsible, community responsive budget.
What if we put present?
Yeah, because that's not really our purview. That's not
Present.
really our purview. We are involved in the process. Mike keeps everyone informed of the process. We have our finance committee that helps set and establish what we wanna see in a budget. We sit our butts in these seats for 6 hours on a Saturday to make sure that we are being fiscally responsible. So as far as creative fiscally responsible, that's probably not the right goal for us.
Of course. Appreciate the board's focus on the verb whenever we talk about creating instructional objectives. We always want to identify the appropriate verb. If I may, could I say adopt?
I was gonna say present, because, I mean, our goal is to get it adopted, but we
Well, no, at the end, the goal is to adopt.
adopt, okay.
That's the final.
Yeah.
So,
They present it.
yeah,
We present.
but no, but we're presenting it to the public.
No, they
No,
are.
they're presenting
They
it,
are.
we are adopting it. We get the go ahead once we think it's got the green light. Once we have the green light,
Okay, so
we're,
then adopt a fiscally responsible budget to the community for approval, ensuring
so I'm gonna
transparency.
argue that that is literally our job and that we don't have to have a goal that says.
Yeah,
That's
I think there should be specifics to that, like.
In the policy, we just,
We just have it written in the policy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just gonna argue that this is, listen, it's important for the public to know that this is a priority for us, but we already know, we already know sitting here that this is going to end up happening, right? Based
Yeah.
on,
This is.
all right, it's our job.
So do we want
It's the main function
to,
of
since
us.
we got the other one
Right?
as goal 2, should we get rid of that completely and make goal 2 that we just did as
Yeah.
goal 3?
I think that's better.
I think last year we also decided we just had way too many goals.
Keeping it
You
simple.
had more than 4.
We had 5, and,
We also want to make them full, so.
we can attain, and we did a good job last year, we did, but, you know.
I have a question. You know, the forums that you did, I was like the only one at one of
The
them,
budget ones.
me and Agnes, remember Agnes? Were other ones like better attended? So,
I don't want to put the quantifier better. There were, the attendance, bless you, the
I mean,
attendance.
I
was low.
felt lucky to have you, like you and Enrique to answer my questions directly.
I'll be honest,
Yeah.
even if nobody shows up, we'll still hold them.
Right, but is there something more effective and that you can do? That will, it's a better use of your time.
That's, to be honest, at that point in time, I held virtual, I held in person, we held it in different places. It's about, we also held a board budget discussion early on in the year.
Earlier, it was
Early
earlier than
on.
usual.
So I think it's about being flexible, being open. I have
Maybe you
individual
offer
meetings.
2 minutes,
I don't think.
because people are like, oh, I'll get to the next.
Yeah, I don't think that you can offer too many at that time, because we want everybody to fully understand the budget. In my years of being a part of a team that's developing budgets, the misunderstandings that are associated with a school board, with the school budget development, have to be addressed so that people feel comfortable going into that voting booth and making the vote that they
Even
feel,
just one person.
even just one person. I mean, I watched this board spend an hour and a half with one person to get to know that person better, to get to understand their concerns, to listen to their concerns. And I think we all walked out of there saying, if one person better understands, you're probably going to have that person be able to vocalize to the people in their friend group. I appreciate you looking out for our time, and we'll always try to find ways to do it more effectively, but at that point in time, it's really about being there for anybody who has that question.
You also went to PT meetings, PT advocacy meetings.
Senior groups.
Senior groups, went all over, the Montrose, the VA, the Montrose home, we went to the Buchanan, Verplank, I mean, he made the round, so.
I'll go into people's homes, especially if they're having a nice dinner.
That's an idea. You could have like little, you know, Iowa style, like meet at the diner and talk about the.
I think one of the things I want to make sure we add to our goals this year is just like maybe a running tab of all the things we're doing, like almost like a checklist, right? So if we go to, like, Michael has an event that he invites the board members to, that's in the community, and we go to that, I think we should have it like in there, on this date, we did blah, 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 right? So like at the end, because I feel like last year, we were all sitting there like, oh my gosh, what did we do to like get all our goals done? Because we couldn't remember, our brains were like, we just had to like sit here and go through it. But I think if we have like a running thing where we're like, you know, so it's like, okay, we did accomplish that goal because we're quantifying it by having all that information there saying, hey, we did that. So
I think you bring up a great point.
Yeah.
If I may share a suggestion, the 6 month mark for the annual, or for the 6 month review is a great opportunity. What I do with our administrative team is we have our goals that the district sets out. And we'll take time during our administrative team meetings to say, these are our goals. And I want you to take 5 minutes with your colleagues to reflect on what you've done within your building or department to do that. Perhaps at your 6 month mark. That would be a good public, or that would be a good work session for the public to see, for the board to work together to update its goals, and then it's a good progress check.
In 6 months.
Whenever you're suggested,
Yeah.
you can align it to, the district will be provided, I believe we have 3 suggested updates on progress toward district goals. Perhaps you can align it to those.
And that's also something on the new community, diligence community, they have a goals tracker. You can update, it's on the front, it would be on the like the landing page. So there's a lot of little modules like that will help measurement.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
You already know all the terms.
well, you know, I'm trying to advocate for.
You're like,
harmony.
get the landing.
Those are
Keep track of your modules.
Sure.
Don't, excuse my silence, I'm typing. I'm typing about this, so I'm hearing you keep track of board work to help facilitate improvements and more informed help me
Say something.
what do we do at the end of the year? Inform board self-evaluation.
Yeah.
Continuously progress monitor. Our goal throughout the year.
Yeah, and NISBA actually recommends twice. I'd like to do it in the beginning and then 4 to 6 months.
Twice during the academic year, the calendar year.
How many goals do we have now?
We have too many. One is, well, I'm gonna just.
Yeah.
One is enhanced community engagement by establishing focus groups and or organizing meet and greet events with board members in the community. Number 2 is our policy, which again, I'm not sure if it needs to be a goal because we're gonna end up doing it anyway. I think the focus here was to make sure that we had an attainable, it was more attainable.
You're gonna do it anyway, so.
But I think articulating that is key to.
Yes, because.
Yes, we were gonna,
It's a part of-
Right.
we had a
We
plan
be
to
able
do
to
those.
say at the end of the year, we accomplished these
Yeah.
goals as a
Yeah,
board,
yeah.
like we said these were the things we
That's
said.
it, definitely.
So
Yeah.
that one, but I don't think that one's a heavy lift. It's a heavy lift for the policy committee, it's a heavy lift for our time here. But I don't think it's a heavy lift as far as like, oh, that's gonna be crazy to actually get that done, right? So maybe that's okay to leave.
Yeah, I think we leave that.
Goal
But that
3.
still has to be done and a lot of work.
Goal 3 is research and explore ways to optimize the user experience and technology with board materials and board docs.
Yeah.
Okay. Goal 4, we did not get to a strategic plan conversation as it relates to board work. And then now goal 5, keep track of board work to help facilitate improvement and facilitate and improve. Sorry, I'm tired at this point. Keep track, I know everyone is, keep track of our board trustee work to help facilitate and improve.
To provide a more
To
informed.
provide a more informed board self-evaluation, continuously progress monitor our goals throughout the year.
If I may, I want to get lost in semantics.
Yeah.
I wonder if we would change board work, because remember, board has authority in itself only as a board, not an
So this would be, but this is more an individual, because it's gonna be where we are, what we're doing.
The activities.
Let's just call it board. Just call it school board. Activities to help facilitate and improve.
About something else.
We could refine this more. We are gonna keep the strategic plan in there, though, right? Yeah, that's like.
Well, we have to.
Okay.
Have to provide a.
Okay, so the strategic plan, and this could be quick, so the reason that this is here is because the district goals, when we see them next week, are going to be. I'm gonna make an argument when I'm done, like, I get ahead of myself sometimes in my head. One of the reasons I talk so quickly. Everyone just tell me to slow down. So one of the reasons we had discussed including the strategic plan was because we're in the middle of this. I think it was till 2027. And the district's goals this year are going to be focused on our strategic plan. So as a board, we had discussed what our role in that is, right? I can make an argument that all the things that we just did are because let's remember what our strategic plan is. Community engagement,
Clear and targeted.
clear and targeted communication. Number 4 is,
Student engagement.
no, that's 1. Hold on, I'm gonna read them exactly.
So does strategic plan not a goal, and do we just
Well,
outline it in an effort to support and carry out the
Well, I
vision of
have
the
a-
strategic plan that we have created the
We-
following goals that are aligned with that?
So if I could, I would say that as the board, I think you need to give yourself credit for having that strategic plan in there, and you can be a board of education that has adopted a strategic plan but chooses not to pursue it.
Well, our goal was not strategic plan. We put that there because we had a very specific piece of the strategic plan we wanted to talk about.
Well, my thought was, is it clear and targeted communications and shared decision-making? We covered shared decision-making last year. I think the goal of this was twofold.
Was
It was
this,
student engagement for improvement and the real world experiences piece, which was, we had discussed getting at least at minimum a student on the Board of Ed. So this is like, the strategic plan could be so many different things, which is why I think we left it at just strategic plan.
No, we didn't.
well, yeah, because we left it as that, and that was just the broad topic. Remember, we had the other pieces and we were talking about the student. We were talking about presenting it to the public, and potentially putting it for a vote. And just having that for next year. And in fact, when we went to the NISBA retreat, we got to see that in action with other school districts. And that was going to be one of the piece from the strategic plan that we were gonna bring back, and then lo and behold, what happened this week?
Governor Hochul has issued a mandate that every school board must have a student representative, an ad hoc capacity on the school board. We're getting further clarification on that. I believe that each BOCES will develop the process for how that happens for the component school districts to do that.
Are they developing?
July 1 of 2020.
Yes, are they creating the process of how we're selecting them and what their role is going to be?
I believe that's the spirit, but we have to wait for further guidance from from PNW BOCES.
Because I
They're
do
gonna
think.
email that actually this week.
I do think that should be something that is then part of our goal, if it's something that we're going to have to do in July. So I mean, my piece, I guess, was very specific, and if they're going to give us more guidelines for there, I don't know if we can use what I was thinking of putting there, but we should look at, once we have this guidance, then another part, like creating like orientation and training for the student that's going to be coming on.
And you almost hope that comes from the state, because every student's gonna have to do it.
But then we still have to provide, I mean, is that student going to the state, or is that training coming? They're gonna give us the guidelines for that training.
Yeah,
So
And we're still doing that.
as of
Did you say
right
they're not
now,
voting?
They're not a voting member yet.
Not 18.
The legislation that was passed does have language that says BOCES must also establish a process by which the component districts will select students.
But then after we select them, what are we doing with them? I think that's important that we are establishing, so if like, just like when we have our new board members here, we get new board training.
Wouldn't NISBA do something like that?
I don't know if NISBA is gonna do something, because they're technically like,
If we're gonna make a goal around it, it should probably be something that is not clearly defined now, because you
Well, that's what I'm
spend
saying,
hours
yeah.
on this, and it all becomes worthless, because they're gonna write a totally different set.
or making, maybe it could be something towards, just like when we have the board, like when Tamika and I started, when Corey and Lauren started, like making sure the onboarding is smooth, like it's a seamless transition, that when they start, almost like providing like the backstory on things that we can, like we can make sure we talk to them about the capital project that's coming up, because they're gonna hear about that. Or,
It's gonna be a whole different way of communicating with
I think that we're gonna
at a
find,
student level.
well, yeah, well, that's what I'm not saying we talk personnel, but
Right.
we can talk about like. The capital project's gonna have to be
Right.
spoken about in,
I think what we're gonna
Although-
find is year two. It'll probably become, so this year it's gonna be a challenge because there's nothing out and it doesn't go into effect till July 1, right? So what likely is gonna happen is year two. You're gonna need to, and then in May or in March or in April. Have whatever the process is to have next year's member. Or the representative of the student body chosen to then get that person caught up to speed by the beginning of July 1, because there could be a whole new board members. For coming July 1, right? So that whole
Mhm.
process for new board members in our example, the past 2 years has been giving them some opportunity to learn prior to the commencement of their actual term.
So this legislation was not discussed with superintendents
Ahead of
before,
time.
before it went into place. And one thing that we are wondering as a group is how do we prepare the community for this? Because I think if you think back to some difficult conversations that this board has had to endure,
Yeah.
I think especially with recent events such as the pandemic, I think boards of education and those board members who sat on the board had to endure some times that where civility was not expressed. And how does that play out when a student is now on the board?
yeah, and I think that with this, we have to think about. We're not necessarily, we're like in limbo, right? We know that this is a mandate, but we don't have all the information. So I think our board goal needs to be like, as more information is coming to us. Though we will continue to. Ensure that the student is gonna be. Provided proper training, the selection process is gonna be done like proper training. I think we need though to state that, given guidance. Here's what we plan on doing.
So something along the lines of within the guidance and process that is established, adhere to the mandate in a way that is both supportive and reflective of our community, shared values.
Yeah, because we can't say what we wanna do yet, because we don't know what we can do.
Maybe this is not an appropriate goal, because it's something that the state is in.
Yeah, I think they have to do what they say, right?
But it's not,
Here's what I would say, if you take a look at our strategic plan, the district could argue we shouldn't have. There's two ways to look at that. You could say your goals should be separate and apart from the strategic plan, but then why do you have the strategic plan? So if you were given the strategic plan for myself and our team as a mandate. If the board is given a mandate, you still have to figure out how to address that goal. The purpose of goals is not to make the board have more work, it's to focus.
Do we have to decide on everything tonight?
No,
Like, can we?
I'm typing them right now.
Yeah.
And we're gonna revisit them next week. What I'm typing, I will share out. So everyone can. see
Yeah,
what
the
we're
reason I'm
doing.
asking is because I told you I had a one-on-one NISBA training
Yes.
the other day. That's where I learned about that school aid thing.
Mhm.
And I had he like texts with all these people and he told me to text him at any time and I texted him and asked him for some, because they have a whole formal goal setting workshop, which I didn't think we would be interested in. But they also have resources from NISBA, like that will help with goal setting. So I thought I could share that with you when he sends them to me. It might just give us some ideas for like the last, we want to do one more.
Should one of our board goals be around curriculum? I mean, we're rolling out this whole thing, like, shouldn't our goal be to review what we implemented, how it rolled out, and what stories come out of that as a board?
I would probably say that would.
Or is that a district goal?
That would be a district goal, and then maybe maybe that would be something like. We won't be able to get any data this year from it.
Right.
You know,
Well, we certainly can provide the board with data that they would like to see on that as it comes out. I would say that that's a highly operational goal, and we'd be happy to report out. You will see that a goal of every single department and building deals with the student engagement portion of the strategic plan.
Yeah, which is.
It's in there already.
and the way this process is rolling out is the board gave direction to me so that when I worked with our team, we could formulate our goals, which you're further refining yours. Hopefully, when I present next board meeting, that may show you what's being addressed and covered. And the document has been shared with you as well too. And so that might be something we want to make sure as trustees that this happens, you can see where it is being addressed.
So, I mean, there's so many things we can work on too. Like another goal, like for me, what we're missing here is our advocacy efforts with our legislators and our elected officials to, you know, for that, I know you're working on that.
That will probably be captured under a budget goal.
Yeah.
There is a lot within that budget, right?
Yeah.
Because the work that's done under there, I think the budget goal was a very valuable one.
Yeah.
You know, we have so many, now we have 5.
I think you have too many.
Yeah.
Which is.
Well, it's the
Well, for the board to consider.
not the quantity. A couple of them are.
Again, I would go back to that. It's the purpose of goals is not to give you more work, it's to focus your work.
Right.
So
Well,
think
that's
about the
one
work of the board. Where do you want to focus?
What are the 5? What are the headings?
They don't have headings, they're not written like that, but,
Well, just,
enhance
bullet
community
it.
engagement,
yeah,
policy revisions, research and explore ways to optimize user experience and technology with board materials and board docs. The board would like to establish a process to choose and create an onboarding process has to be refined. Establish a process to choose and create. And appoint.
But are we establishing that, or didn't you say?
I do refine it to appoint
BOCES would-
and it.
the student.
A student member of the Hendrick Hudson Board of Education while adhering to the state legislation and mandates being developed in 24-25.
I thought we said we were gonna table that until we had those guidelines.
That's why I wrote that in there. And then goal 5 is keep track of school board activities to help facilitate and provide a more informed board self-evaluation. Continuously progress monitor our goals throughout the year. And while I do think that's a wonderful idea, I have concerns about who's gonna keep track of that, but we can figure that part out
Or
later.
that can go under just community engagement. That doesn't have to be like a whole separate goal, right? Because like the point of it is to just say we're doing these things. I don't think it
Like
has
if
to
that's
be-
like ongoing.
Yeah, it's
Community
just-
engagement is just
yeah,
like
it's
ongoing.
Engagement, even a board goal, or that's district goal.
Work with the board and the engagement.
Yeah.
That's how we can engage with.
Is there anything, I just saw that, like, I'm just throwing ideas out, but, the Peak Scale had this huge, grant, and they did all these renovations to their buildings that are like all green. They worked with like a green company, to modernize and upgrade a bunch of their
We're
buildings.
doing that in an EPC right now that's been going on. This is
What's it?
energy performance contract.
Okay.
So they.
Oh, yes,
they-
yes, that's in the
they-
article.
So we have it going on now. So last year and the year before, facilities spearheaded that, and Siemens. Is that who
Yes,
they
and
did?
the community
Right.
voted on it, so we got an additional $400,000.
Okay, so we are taking that.
Then that was on
Yeah.
the vote.
I
for the
copied the
budget.
link because I wanted to see if
That
that's.
was one of the
The people know.
voting items on the
They
twenty
voted on it.
twenty-three election year, right?
It was
1,000 people that voted on it.
last year.
2023.
This is ongoing.
Right.
This is
Okay.
working. Anthony Merlini has a whole, you're on facilities, you're gonna learn all about. it.
Yeah, so maybe we can share out that information. That sounds like a good initiative.
Yeah, we did, so it was. It's in the, yes, sure, we can remind everyone again, but we shared it out because it was voted on.
Right,
And
no, I'm
that's
saying,
like with flying colors.
you know, I was a year ago.
Two.
2
Yeah,
years,
well, a year and a half,
right,
right? It was May of 23.
a year from last May. So a year,
Alright,
yes.
We're gonna let's refocus our thoughts here.
Okay, and we'll do, so next time we come back, when we finalize these, let's figure out ways maybe to possibly merge and condense them and prioritize what our board, like what Mike is saying, how will these help facilitate our board work without necessarily creating more work for the board, but making sure we're staying on track. Okay, so that's our task
For next meeting.
for next meeting.
This was
Oh,
real.
we're not done.
25.
We're done.
That policy.
What did we miss?
So, need-
Close the meeting? Yeah, we have new business committee reports. I know. New business committee reports.
Audit? The only, I don't know what else meant. I wasn't there, committee reports.
Committee reports, Matt. I mean, everyone, again, I'm gonna start with, everyone knows what the policy committee does. Cause we just did that work. I haven't had any other, I haven't had any other committees, meeting.
Over the
Safety is meeting next week and facilities is meeting in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Safety meets Thursday?
Next week, yes. I think I'm still gonna go.
So trustee Dietrich and I will discuss the audit committee. Audit committee on a Monday, August 26th. Present were trustee Dietrich. Trustee Sanko, I'm sorry. We both, Jill Figueroa, our assistant superintendent for business, and then myself and also our internal auditors. We received an internal audit update that was coming to the, that was wrapping up. Jill provided us with an update on the external audit, the yearly audit for fiscal controls. And we also discussed the development of a charter. Oh, also was Beth Gruber, who is a member of the community member of the audit committee. And we also discussed the generation of a charter to help guide us and protocols for the audit committee going forward. It was a productive meeting.
Very productive. Technology didn't do that. I'm just not finance starts not.
Yes.
Good job to everybody.
Anyone else ready?
Oh, wait, well,
Committee
that's
report?
PTA. That's not. We met with the PTA yesterday for the.
I say all the PTAs are starting up now.
Those are starting up. So Amelia and I were on that call yesterday. It's pretty good.
So you're still doing virtually for elementary?
Yeah.
Yesterday was virtual. I don't know if they're gonna switch over to, last year it was hybrid, like there was, well, not hybrid at the same time, it was some in person,
Some.
some virtual.
Virtual. I love that it's virtual.
Yeah.
It's the only.
I thought it was a good idea.
Not like
For me, for the high school one.
Well, I guess
I love
everybody
hybrid.
remember, if you join one PTA, they're not a member of the others. There's 4 in the district.
Yeah.
Right? There's one for the elementary, one for the middle, one for the high school, and then there's the special education PTA. So
They're meeting Wednesday
if
next
you're a
week.
member of one, you are not a member of the other, so you can support as many of them as you can afford to.
Information on signing up
Me
for them.
too. I
Found my
did
most recent,
today.
you know, the update.
Thank you, Mike, for including them.
Yeah.
The high school PTSA met this week.
September meets next Wednesday.
Unfortunately, the meeting with SEPTA is also the day of the parent.
They may-
Out middle school.
They are,
Teachers.
we mentioned that to them at the high school PTA meeting, there might be a new date for that. So just be on the lookout.
I thought they said the calendar was already made.
I don't know, I brought it up to them at the PTSA meeting. So I don't, they were gonna look at the date, I don't know. It's very difficult to schedule stuff, but.
We met and met tonight, but we'll go to the next one.
You're excused for this one.
All right,
They elected a new course.
does anyone wanna, we do not need an executive session, so the
Motion to close the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
all in favor?